You're listening to Amish Family Quilt, Amish Bonnet Sisters, Book 22 by Samantha Price, narrated by Andy Garcia Roos. Chapter 1. Debbie stared at Cherish and then at Fenella before taking a deep breath. Want to know something? The three of them were alone in the kitchen, sharing the last of the breakfast coffee. What? Cherish asked, leaning forward. Fenella put her cup down and fastened her gaze upon Debbie. Debbie then looked at both of them in turn. Can you both keep a big secret? Sure, I keep secrets all the time. I'm the best secret keeper. Everyone says that, Cherish answered. Yeah, me too. Debbie took a deep breath. They all fell for it. I was never married. They all believed me, even John's parents. People tend to believe anything I say. How ridiculous is that? Cherish stared across the kitchen table at Debbie in disbelief. What? Cherish screeched. Are you serious? How could you lie to so many people? You mean you were never secretly married to John? Cherish stood up so quickly that the chair underneath her flew back. I knew it. I just knew it. Fenella just sat there, staring at Debbie, open-mouthed. It was the best solution. Otherwise, I would have had to give my baby away. Wasn't it your idea, Cherish? Debbie asked. I'm sure it was. Fenella then stared up at Cherish. No, it was not. How can you say that? In one smooth motion, Cherish managed to pick up the chair and then sat down on it. Oh, why did you tell me? Now I'll have to keep this a secret. You just told me you're the world's best at keeping secrets. Cherish added. That's so awful and so hard to wrap my head around. I believed you. We all believed you. Oh, you fooled the bishop. I have no words. 0 words. You'll be shunned. Debbie just sat there and shrugged her shoulders. For someone with no words, you certainly have a lot to say. Cherish was so upset she wasn't even listening to Debbie right now. Hey, weren't you the one who didn't like secrets, Debbie? Ada walked in, laughing. Oh, Cherish, you're so ready to believe things. Ada pulled out the chair next to Debbie and sat down. Then they put their heads together and cackled. Cherish's mouth fell open. Wait a minute. Was this a joke? Yes, Debbie said between a flurry of giggles. Cherish frowned at the 2 women across from her. So you were married to John, right? Yes, I was. It's all true. Cherish put a hand over her heart. That's a relief. You had me fooled, too. You're a great actress, Debbie. Fenella picked up her coffee and had a mouthful. Cherish wagged a finger at the 2 jokesters. You 2 are dreadful. I'll have to pay you both back. You know that, right? With a gleam in her eyes, Ada said, We'll get you again before you get us. To Cherish, it sounded like a challenge, and she was up for it. You're a bad influence on Debbie, Ada. Ada pointed to Debbie. It was Debbie's idea. Debbie opened her mouth in shock. Oh, Ada! It was a little bit my idea, to use an answer Cherish would use. Ada laughed some more. Meanwhile, Mom was outside bringing in the washing. She wasn't interested in the silly joke Ada and Debbie were playing on Cherish. They had too much time on their hands. Mom was far too worried about the state of Mercy's marriage to join in the joke. The sad thing was that she couldn't tell Ada about the rocky marriage because too much fuss would be made. Ada would say something to her sister, who would then say something to her son, Stephen, who was Mercy's husband. Mercy had said she'd try harder to overlook his flaws. But as far as Wilma could see, the flaws weren't really flaws. It was a real problem that Mercy let a few silly or tiresome jokes get under her skin. Stephen was such a good man, and Mercy wasn't appreciating him. Wilma had done her best to counsel her daughter while she'd been visiting for the birth of their 2nd child. She'd done her best. The last thing she wanted was Mercy leaving her husband and coming back to live at the orchard with her 2 young children. What would people think? It would be scandalous. What's more, they'd blame her for not raising Mercy to be a good wife. It would be shameful. The best place for Mercy was with her husband. As Wilma folded the bath towels, her mind traveled back some years to when Mercy was desperate to marry, even though she was only 18. Mercy wouldn't listen to anyone. She'd been determined to marry, and Ada had encouraged her by bringing Stephen there, telling Mercy that he'd suit her perfectly. By the time he arrived, Mercy had worked herself up into such a state that she nearly had fallen in love with him before she'd met him. Mom unpinned the last towel and folded it and placed it in the laundry basket. Then she took the whole load inside. When she walked into the kitchen to place the basket on the table, she knew that they'd fooled Cherish just like they'd planned. "Oh, Mom, do you know what they just did to me?" Mom smiled.
"I do. Now, who's going to put this lot away? The washing won't fold itself."
Cherish glanced at the basket. "It's already folded."
"I mean, it won't put itself away. Ada and I want to get on with the quilt."
Cherish stood up. "Fenella and I'll do it." "Relax, Aunt Wilma. I could have got that washing in for you," Debbie said. "You look tired. The trip must have taken a lot out of you."
"I'm fine. Danke, Debbie. Danke, everyone."
"I'll make you and Ada a hot cup of tea. How's that?" Cherish said. Wilma nodded.
"Okay, that would be nice.
"And I'm doing that because you didn't fool me like these two did." Mom managed another smile.
"Come on, Wilma. Let's go before she changes her mind."
Ada stood up. Wilma and Ada walked into the living room and settled down to start some sewing.
"What's wrong with you?"
Ada asked, looking up from threading her needle.
"Oh, nothing. You've not been yourself since our trip. Cherish is right. You seem so deflated."
Mom sighed and then reminded herself of how Mercy kept sighing.
"I just miss the babies, that's all." "So do I, but I'm not moping about. Life goes on. You and I are very different." "No, we're not."
Wilma looked over at her.
"We're not?"
"Just a minute." Ada held her tongue between her teeth while she held the needle up to the light to thread it. Once it was done, she looked back at Wilma.
"Nay, we're the same. Why do you think we've been friends for 40 years? "I suppose I'm very similar to you in many ways."
Ada gave a nod.
"Exactly, and more than many. We're similar in most ways. Don't you think so?"
Ada was too intense sometimes. Wilma wanted to change the subject, and the only way to move on was to agree with her.
"I guess so." "That's right. So cheer up. You have other babies here and other daughters. Just visit Joy more. Play with Faith." "It's very hard when we're so busy. I can ask that she bring Faith here more often. And I'll ask Florence if she'll bring Iris over once in a while. She's always taking Iris over for Christina to look after, but I could look after her." "That's the way. And soon Debbie will be bringing a new life into the home." "She will. That's true."
Wilma knew she'd have to look happy or Ada might start asking more questions. The last thing she wanted was for Ada to learn that Mercy had expressed a desire to return to the orchard without Stephen. Ada looked through to the kitchen at Cherish.
"Why isn't she working in the orchard today?" "She hurt her foot, and Fenella's got women's issues, and that gave her a bad headache." Always some excuse for Cherish. I can't speak for Fenella. Maybe Fenella's excuse is real. If you ask me, Cherish just wants to play with her birds all day. That's what she's doing now. What about our tea? Has she forgotten? She's probably boiling the water. Give her some sit-down chores. Surely you've got some of those, yeah?"
Wilma leaned over and saw Cherish talking to the birds instead of putting away the towels. Then she saw Cherish walking away.
"She's making our tea now. I will give her some more chores when it comes time for the meals. She can help prepare them." "You're too easy on her. If I were you, I'd still send her out into the orchard, sore foot or no sore foot. Surely she'd be able to be of some help."
Wilma said,
"She does love those birds." "That's your fault for buying her another one." Maybe it's your fault for letting Timmy out. The sewing dropped into Ada's lap. Wilma regretted it as soon as she had let the words escape her lips. How can you say that? You know how bad I felt for letting Timmy out. It was a total accident. All I was doing was trying to help this family by cleaning his cage. I know how the bird upset you, and his mess even more so. Wilma breathed out heavily. I'm sorry. I'm just so upset today. I know it wasn't your fault, but it wasn't really hurting anything to get her that new bird. Timmy's squawking has improved since we got Tommy, and Cherish is keeping up with the seed that scatters on the floor. Ada recommenced her sewing. No, you shouldn't have said that to me. That's why I know how upset you are over missing the babies. I'm upset too, but I don't let it ruin my life. And I don't let it make me open my mouth and say mean things. I'm sorry. I'll be all right soon. I probably just need a good sleep. The birds chirped loudly. Ada yelled out, I thought you said they wouldn't do that when there was more than one of them. Oh, Ada, they're just having fun, Cherish yelled out from the kitchen. Fenella walked into the room. The towels are put away. How are you feeling now, Fenella? About the same. I'm struggling not to lie down. I don't know what to do with myself. Come and sit down and help us sew this quilt. We'll need to all work on it as much as we possibly can. Okay. Sometimes I feel worse when I lie down. Sewing might help. Cherish walked into the room with a tray of tea items and a plate of cookies. Fenella has put the towels away. I heard you both talking about the new bird. Thanks so much, Mom, for getting Tommy. Timmy is so much happier. I hope you've forgiven me for letting Timmy out. It was an accident, you know, Ada said to Cherish. I know. I do forgive you, and I did at the start. I'm just glad he came back. God sent Debbie out into the orchard at the exact place where he was. It was all our prayers that directed him to Debbie. It was. And, Mom said, Cherish ends up with what she wanted. 2 birds. That's right. Now, what shall I sew? Cherish asked, just as Fenella reached for a cookie. Fenella said, I do a lot of sewing at home. Good, then your day won't be wasted. That goes for you too, Cherish. I've got items ready for you there on that table. You two can sew the crimson and the green together. Do it with your very best stitches. Once we're all done, we'll piece it together and we can put it on the table and sew it at the same time. I love doing that. It brings back many good memories of my younger days. Cherish picked up the patches of fabric that Ada had organized into groups. I wasn't thinking of using my second best stitches. Cherish sat next to her mother and picked up a needle and measured off a length of thread. What do you mean? Ada asked. You said to use my best stitches. Oh, well, just do your best is what I meant. Then Debbie walked into the room. Can I help? Soon, the 5 of them were sitting down working on the quilt. Where have Levi and Samuel gone? Cherish inquired. They've gone out with Matthew. I don't know where they were going. Me either, added Mom. Why aren't they helping with the harvest? Fenella asked. Ada pursed her lips. It seems they thought something else was more important. Cherish threaded her needle. I wonder what that would be, and why didn't they ask me and Fenella to go with them? Mom said, Because they're men. They go off and do men's things. They're probably repairing someone's barn or helping mend a fence. Yeah, and I'm sure you'd rather stay here than do that, Cherish, Ada said. You're right about that. I could do it, though. I've been good at everything I've tried. I've helped Florence repair the fences. It's not that hard. Mom raised her eyebrows and kept sewing. Chapter 2. Levi stood between Samuel and Matthew at the horse auction, watching the activity. He breathed in his favorite scent, horses, with the faint smell of straw and the sweetly pungent aroma of horse manure. Auctions were his favorite place to be. There was always a buzz of excitement in the air, and everyone was happy. Here he comes, the horse you like, Levi, Samuel said. Go on, Levi, buy it.
Matthew boisterously elbowed Levi in his ribs. Levi rubbed his beard, looking at the handsome horse that was about to be auctioned.
I don't know his history. They just said he's a 4-year-old. That's a perfect age, isn't it?
Matthew asked.
He might not have any harness training.
Samuel said,
You can do that, Levi. You've been training horses since I've known you as a young man. I have, but it depends on if Wilma will allow another horse right now.
Matthew burst out laughing.
Then he looked at Levi's stony face. Oh, you're serious? He had a heart problem a while back,
Samuel told him.
He's been told he can't exert himself. I know that, but how stressful is it to teach a horse to pull a buggy? It's not. Not that much.
Levi's eyes were fixed on the horse being led around the ring.
No one's bidding. Just put a low bid in and see if you get him.
Matthew wasn't letting up.
Yeah, Levi, I have to agree with Matthew. There's hardly anyone here today. You could even put him back in the auction next month and make a profit.
Levi still was uncertain if he should make a decision without careful consideration.
I do have a horse that's getting too old. Now you're talking! Quick, raise your hand!
Matthew made a grab at Levi's hand just as the auctioneer lowered his suggested bid to $500.
Levi pulled his arm away from Matthew, and the auctioneer saw the movement and took it as a bid. The auctioneer then announced he had $500 and was looking for $700. Immediately, someone bid $700, and someone else raised it to $800. Then it went to $900. Sorry about that, Levi, Matthew said when he saw what happened. He's a nice horse. Do you want him? I could use him. I like the way he walks, and he was my pick when we looked at them all before the auction started. Get him then. Why not, Levi? He looks like a good one,
Samuel said. The auctioneer was now calling for $1,000. Levi raised his hand, and just as the hammer fell, someone yelled out $1,500. Levi looked around. He didn't know whether he'd gotten the horse or not. When a young man who worked for the auction firm walked up to Levi to ask for his details, he knew that he had the winning bid. Levi made a down payment and then made arrangements to pay the balance and pick up the horse in a couple of days.
Well done,
Samuel said as he patted Levi on his back.
Yeah, was that a good price?
It was, Levi grinned.
Let's go to the stables and take another look at him.
On making more inquiries about the horse, they found out that he was owned by an old man who died. That's why there was very little history on the horse. In the buggy on the way home, Levi told Samuel and Matthew,
Now, not a word to anyone. I have to tell Wilma about this first. It won't go down well if she hears it from anyone but me. I won't breathe a word. I'm excited for you, Levi. He's a nice horse. Levi used to have so many horses before he married Wilma. They were his hobby,
Samuel told Matthew.
Things change. I'm kept busy enough without the horses. He's just saying that,
Samuel told Matthew.
Levi chuckled. That's not so. Anyway, now I have another horse to occupy my time. Are you all happy? That's 4 horses. I'm going to retire Dusty for good. At the moment, he's the spare. I'll train this new horse. He might be already trained. We'll see.
Matthew said,
He didn't come with much history, and that makes him a mystery. Hey, that rhymes. Yeah, a mystery horse. I'm going to call him Rhymes. What do you think about that name?
Levi took his eyes off the road for a moment to glance at Matthew in the back seat and at Samuel beside him.
I love it,
Matthew said.
It's as good a name as any. Rhymes it is, then. Now, to think of how to break this news to Wilma. You just said it yourself. You need the horse, so what's the problem?
Asked Matthew.
We do need another horse, but women aren't logical.
Matthew leaned forward and placed his elbows on the back of the seat in front.
They aren't? I didn't know that. How do they run households, run businesses, and manage budgets and such? They can do that. Levi means they're too emotional. They don't think about things the way men do. Okay, I'm glad I've got you two to teach me these things. Yeah,
Levi nodded.
she'll see the horse and immediately think it's an extra thing that we don't need. I'll have to tell her we do, and then she'll continue to believe I bought it because I like horses.
Matthew leaned back in his seat.
But it was a bargain. Tell her that. It won't matter. All she'll think about is the money that we now don't have because I spent it on a horse. I recently saw how much fabric we have left over in the sewing room, and I said she didn't need to buy more fabric for the quilt they're working on. And what did she say? She made some excuse about the old fabric being the wrong color. I thought that sounded like an extravagance until she told me the quilt would be a special gift for Hope and Fairfax for their wedding. I guess you can't argue with that.
Matthew took off his hat and ruffled his hair.
I heard marriage was about compromising, but this sounds kind of difficult. What about you, Uncle Samuel? What about me? Do you have these problems with Aunt Ada?
Samuel turned around to look at Matthew.
Have you met your aunt? Why would I do anything to upset her?
Matthew and Levi laughed. Samuel grinned and turned to the front.
Now, if I needed a horse, I'd simply drop a few hints until it became Ada's idea that we needed a horse.
Matthew leaned forward again.
Ah, now that's clever. Why didn't you do that, Levi? Because I had both of you in my ear, and you lifted up my hand.
Matthew smiled.
You're welcome. You got a great horse at a low price, and I've done my first good deed for the day. I try to do 3 every day.
Levi glanced at him once more.
Shall I tell Wilma you're responsible? No, please don't do that.
Levi and Samuel laughed. Chapter 3. Just before lunchtime, Joy arrived at the Baker apple orchard, bringing her young daughter, Faith. She walked in the front door and saw Ada, Mom, and Cherish busily sewing pieces of the quilt. Debbie was tired and had gone to bed, and not long after, Fenella's headache got worse, so she'd gone up to her room. "Hello, everyone," Joy announced. "I thought I'd visit because it's better than being at home alone. Every day I wait for someone to stop by. The only person who visits me is Christina, but she's got so much work she can't visit me very much." Mom put her sewing down and ran to take Faith from her arms.
"We've got the orchard and the store, Joy. We would if we could, but it's our most busy time of the year."
"Yeah, it's true," Cherish said. "Well, what are you all doing now? No one looks busy."
"We are. We're sewing a quilt for Hope's wedding. We did talk about it over dinner when you were here."
Joy walked over and took a look. "It looks nice, but I didn't get a quilt for my wedding."
"Nay, and neither did the others, Joy. Did Mercy or Honor get a quilt?" "Nay, they didn't."
Ada shook her head. Cherish felt sorry for Joy. She knew she'd be upset. "We'll make you one too, Joy. We'll catch up on the others too." Joy slumped into the chair next to Ada. "Don't worry, it's a bit late now. Just do it for the others. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. I would've." "Tell me about the new babies, Mom. I want to hear all about them." For the next half hour, Mom and Ada talked about the babies and their trip to see Joy's 2 older sisters. Afterward, Joy noticed Debbie was missing. She knew she wouldn't be working outside. "Where's Debbie?"
"She's having a rest. She's been tired lately."
"I remember what it was like in those last weeks. How has she been? Is she upset about how her family has treated her?"
"No, she seems fine. She's happy to stay here."
"You'd be happy about that, wouldn't you, Mom?" Joy asked.
"Yes."
Mom hugged Faith, who was struggling to get down. Then she sat Faith down on the floor. Joy reached into her bag and pulled out toys for Faith to play with.
"Such a beautiful child,"
Ada said. "Thank you. I think she is."
"All children are beautiful,"
Ada added.
"Yeah, they are. I have to get used to the fact that Honor and Mercy will always live away from me,"
Mom sighed. "I'm here," said Joy.
"I know that, and I'm grateful for you being here. I don't know what I'd do without you and little Iris."
Joy frowned. "It's Faith."
Yeah, that's what I meant. Faith. I'm also grateful for Iris. Joy had to say how she felt. She knew Isaac loved her, and so did Faith. But to the rest of her family, she felt she was invisible. Nice words, Mom, but I don't feel you think that way about me and Faith. She does, said Cherish. She talks about you all the time and how she wishes she had more time to go and see you. Joy smiled. Really? Of course. Joy this, Joy that. Why can't you be more like Joy? That's the kind of thing we hear all the time. Everyone says I'm the favorite, but it's really you. You've never given Mom a minute of trouble. Joy sat straighter. That's a surprise. Why would it surprise you? Ada asked. No one says anything of the kind to me. Ada had an answer for that. No one wants you to be prideful. You'd get puffed up with your own importance. Joy laughed, feeling a little better. I wouldn't do that. It would be nice if someone had said that, that's all. Cherish smiled at Ada. She could see what she was doing, and Joy was falling for it. Cherish left her sewing and moved to the floor and played with Faith. Cherish, what about your sewing? You've only done 2 minutes of it, Ada whined. I just want to play with Faith. Can't I do that for 2 minutes? Mom said, We've got to get the quilt finished. All these 2-minute breaks of yours add up into hours. I can help, Joy offered. Ada smiled at the idea of another helper. Well, grab something on the table and get started. Joy walked over and did what Ada suggested. The shop was busy when I passed by. Wilma grinned. That's good. We might have a profitable day. Every bit helps. Who's working there today? Joy asked as she selected some segments of fabric. Today it's Hope and Bliss. Where's Levi? He's off somewhere with Samuel. I think they've gone to help Vanilla's grandmother with some repairs, Mom said. Cherish added, From what I know, her son came and did some, and now she has more things that need doing. I think that she just wants someone there to talk with. You might think that, Cherish, but when you have a home, you'll find that there are always things that need doing. Mom nodded. Joy's right. You'll find that Malachi is doing a lot more work on your old farmhouse than he even tells you. That wouldn't surprise me because he barely tells me anything. He's supposed to keep me informed about everything, but he never does. He says it'll take too much of his time. Can you believe it? He can't be that busy. As usual, Ada had her opinion to voice. He's doing a splendid job, and he's such a nice young man. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some news soon. News? What kind of news? Cherish stared up at Ada. Between him and his lady friend. Cherish's mouth fell open at the thought. She tried to warn Malachi that he couldn't expect to stay there on the farm if he married Annie Wiley. No, they're just friends. He told me so. Joy laughed. Cherish, that's what everyone says. That's what Isaac and I told everyone, too. We weren't ready to tell people about our relationship, so we insisted we were just friends. Cherish didn't like the sound of that. Really? You mean you fibbed to everyone? That shocks me. You never lie, Joy. It's not lying because it's true. He was a friend, but then he became a little more than a friend. Sounds like a lie to me. I wonder if Malachi was telling me the truth or not. Now that's going to bother me. I don't know how I'd feel about it if he was involved with Annie. Ada stared at Cherish. You like him? Cherish made a face. What? No! Everyone stared at her. Cherish shrugged her shoulders. Of course not. I just meant I don't know how I'd feel about it because if they married, there would be 2 of them living at the house. Or, Mom said, he might leave your farm. Then we'd have to find another caretaker. It was hard enough to find him, if you remember. I know. 2 minutes is up, Cherish. It's been more like 5 minutes. Tick-tock goes the clock, Ada grumbled. Cherish sat back on the couch and picked up the sewing that she'd left off. It's kind of boring sewing these pieces. I can't wait until it's all put together into a big quilt, like you said, Ada. Joy sighed. Hope will love it. Such pretty colors. Debbie and I chose them. Joy was a little bit envious that Mom and Debbie had gone shopping together. No one suggested that she go shopping with them. She'd barely gone anywhere since she'd had Faith. Still, she didn't want anyone to think she was sour. You made a great choice with the fabric, Mom. Danke. Does anyone know what's going on with Crystal? Joy asked. Cherish leaned across Mom. Why? What have you heard?
Chapter 4. Mom held up her arm to stop Cherish from crowding her.
Move back. I can't sew while you're doing that.
Joy continued.
I heard that she ran away from the dairy because she wasn't getting along with Mrs. Miller. Yes, that happened. Have you heard anything else? Only that someone said she's staying with the bishop for a while, until he finds her another host family. Then someone else said that was wrong and she's still with the Millers. She's only got a few weeks left, you know, and then she's free to do what she wants. If she is staying with the bishop, it would be odd. I've never heard of anyone not lasting their time with the host family, Mom said.
Yeah, Ada added.
Usually, if people can't last with their host family, they leave. Which story is true, Joy?
I don't know. Cherish bit her lip.
I'm surprised she's lasted this long.
Ada looked down her nose at Cherish.
Perhaps you should concentrate just as much on the sewing as you're doing on flapping your gums and gossiping.
Cherish was ready for this reply. She'd saved it up for the next time Ada said she was flapping her gums.
Firstly, you can't flap your gums.
No, I can't, but you can. You do it all the time. Cherish was annoyed. Ada was too fast thinking for her. If only she was as quick with the replies. It normally took her a whole day to think of what she should have said. Joy was quick to tell Ada.
I wasn't gossiping. Cherish just asked me what I'd heard. Joy's right, and I wasn't gossiping either. If I was, I'd tell Joy that we found Crystal hiding out at Eddie's place after she told him and his family lots of horrible things about the Millers.
Everyone stopped sewing and looked at Cherish. Joy asked,
What kind of things did she say? I'm not sure, but they were awfully sorry for her, and when we found her there, it was the second time she'd been there. If I was a troublemaker, I could tell the bishop that she was saying unkind things, but I'm not, so I didn't. If Crystal's not getting on well there, the bishop is doing the right thing finding her somewhere else to stay, Mom said. If that's what's happening.
Joy added.
Then when she's finished the instructions and gets baptized, I guess she'll need to find somewhere to live and find employment to support herself.
Ada nodded.
She seems like a clever girl. It won't take her long to get a job. Cherish, you could see if your cafe needs extra workers.
Cherish gulped. Working every day at the cafe was something she'd like to do. How would she feel if Crystal got to do that?
I could ask when Crystal's ready to look for a job. I'm sure she'll get work, but where will she live?
Wilma asked.
Don't know. It's not my problem.
Again, everyone stared at Cherish. She looked up.
What I mean is, it's not my problem right now. It's none of our problems right now. Not yet. She'll only need a place to live when she finishes up in a few weeks.
Wilma's eyes narrowed.
Finishes up? When she finds another host family for another few weeks.
Cherish smiled.
You have a big house, Ada.
We like to leave it free for people visiting the community. It's not for permanent residents to live there. We like being by ourselves.
Of course, if she has nowhere to go, we'd open up our home to her while she finds something else.
My house is too small, Joy commented.
Anyway, Isaac and I will be moving out as soon as we find a house to buy. Oh, that's wonderful news, Joy. You've saved some money then? Yeah, Isaac has been saving for years. We've been very careful with our money, and Levi's been very good to allow us to stay there this long. Have you looked at many places? Mom asked. No, not many. There aren't that many for sale. Don't move too far away, Cherish said. It won't make much difference. No one visits me anyway.
Mom grunted.
Don't start that again. We do our best. I'm only teasing.
Joy had really meant it. and she hoped her comments would make them think twice about how they treated her. Anyway, I'll be excited for Debbie's baby to arrive. It'll be another playmate for Faith when they're both older. Then it'll be Christina's baby that'll be the next to arrive.
And what about another sister or brother for Faith?
Ada asked Joy. Working on it, Joy stated, looking down at her needlework. That had become her standard answer to everyone who told her she should be having her second child by now. When Gott was ready, they'd have their second child. No amount of people talking about it would hurry the process along. Ada raised her eyebrows at Joy's response and kept sewing.
Be sure to tell us as soon as you have exciting news to share, Mom said.
I will. I'm in no hurry. Faith keeps me busy enough.
You'll never be as busy as I was with 9 children to raise. I did it all on my own. By the time I married Levi, you were all grown up.
Apart from Cherish, but she'll never grow up, Ada laughed. Oh, I'm sorry, Cherish, but I couldn't resist that one. Cherish's lips turned down at the corners.
Don't worry. I will think of a good way to pay you back for roping Debbie into tricking me.
Oh, hush, Cherish, Joy said. I can't imagine how hard that would have been for you, Mom. That would have been tough. I never realized it back then. You did a great job with so many of us.
The older ones helped,
Cherish said.
Like Florence, and I guess Mercy might have.
And what would you know?
Ada asked.
I've heard the stories. I'm not meaning to be rude. Don't get defensive. I'm just saying my bit.
Bits are what you put in a horse's mouth. You were playing down what your mother went through.
Ada pressed her lips together.
I didn't mean to. Sorry, Mom.
That's okay, Cherish. You were too young to know what was what back then. Somehow we all made it through. I had to work in the orchard and run the house. Good thing that Florence knew what she was doing. I guess you were right, Cherish. Florence did help a lot.
Cherish knew that the bulk of the work had been on Florence's shoulders, but she couldn't say that, not with Ada around. Besides that, she didn't want to upset her mother, and she definitely didn't want to upset her mother's best friend. Half an hour into Joy's visit, Faith got cranky and Joy announced it was time for them to go home. Joy was pleased Faith was unsettled because Joy had been feeling exactly the same way. It was never peaceful at the Baker Bruner house anymore. There were far too many personalities and people talking over the top of each other. She couldn't wait to get home. Cherish walked out to the buggy with her and waved goodbye. Then Cherish walked back into the house to see that Ada and Wilma had moved into the kitchen.
Time to shell some peas.
Mom looked directly at Cherish and then nodded to the mound of peas. Then Ada said,
Well, Wilma, it's a lovely day, and we won't be having those for too much longer. How about you and I go for a walk in the orchard?
Mom quickly rose to her feet.
Great idea. That's something I haven't done in a long time. I do so like the smell that the trees have around harvest time. It's the sweet smell of ripe apples. Or is it the rotting ones that are being thrown out that you can smell? They have a sweet aroma too. I'll come for a walk with you and I'll track down what you're smelling.
Nay,
Ada snapped so suddenly that it made Cherish jump.
You stay here and get those peas shelled. Also, you must keep an ear out for Debbie. She's sleeping.
That's right, and she'll have the baby any time now. Someone needs to stay in the house with her. She shouldn't be left alone. Isn't that right, Ada?
You're righter than you've ever been, Wilma.
She's not that close, is she?
Cherish knew she was. She was just trying to get under Ada's skin.
Yeah, as your mother said, the Bopley can come any time now.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I'll stay here.
Ada shook her head.
As if you had a choice.
Mom laughed, and the two of them headed out of the house. Cherish couldn't help being slightly annoyed at Ada. Was it her imagination, or was she getting worse? A couple of minutes later, Cherish heard Debbie come down the stairs, and then she walked into the kitchen. Cherish looked up.
How are you feeling?
Debbie leaned over and grasped her stomach.
Contraction.
Cherish jumped to her feet, knocking her sewing to the floor.
You're in labor?
Yeah.
I must get Mom and Ada.
Debbie stretched out her arm.
Nay, Cherish, you must stay here and deliver the baby. He's coming now.
Debbie doubled over again and let out a yell.
The head's coming out.
Chapter 5. Cherish froze, not knowing what to do. She knew nothing about childbirth, apart from being present at Faith's birth. Mom and Ada had only just left, so they couldn't have gone too far.
No, Debbie, don't push. You must wait. I don't know what to do.
Debbie gasped.
You must help me. Mom!
Cherish screamed and ran to the door. She flung it open. There, in front of her, were Ada and Mom. They were standing there smiling. The smiling quickly turned to laughing, and when Cherish turned around and saw Debbie laughing too, it didn't take her long to figure it out.
Very funny.
Ada held her stomach. Oh, Cherish, you should have seen your face. Debbie was laughing so much she had to hurry to the couch so she could sit down. Mom stopped laughing enough to say, You were supposed to help deliver the baby. Cherish folded her arms.
You people are strange. How is this funny?
Mom and Ada looked at each other and burst out laughing again. Cherish went back into the kitchen to pick up the pea shelling project and found that Carmel had eaten most of them. Cherish sighed and sat down. Just as well, Favor's vegetable garden had produced a large crop of peas. She looked up at Debbie as she walked into the room.
What are you doing going along with them?
Come on, it was funny. Admit it.
It wasn't nice to run away when I told you the head was out. I was running for help.
Mom and Ada joined Cherish and sat down at the kitchen table. You abandoned a pregnant woman giving birth, Ada said again.
I wasn't abandoning her. I was getting help. The two are different things.
Cherish put her hand against her chest.
My heart is still pounding.
Cherish wondered whether this was how things were going to be from now on. Mom and Ada had lured another person into their private friends group. Surely not. Debbie wasn't old enough to understand their ways, but it was a worry that she understood their humor.
I'm sorry, Cherish, but it was funny,
Debbie said.
Not really.
It was, Mom insisted.
It depends on which side of the fence you're on. I was afraid I'd do something wrong to hurt the baby. You've got to admit, it was a little bit mean. I thought she was truly having the baby right now.
Oh, is that so? Next time we play that joke on you, we'll tell you the baby is a few hours away. Doesn't quite have the same effect, does it?
You're right, Ada. Just keep shelling those peas, Cherish.
Mom looked down at Carmel, licking up the last of the peas.
And you won't have to feed your dog this afternoon because he's eaten all the peas.
Not all of them.
You're very tolerant, Wilma. I don't know if I'd be willing to have a dog in the house when I have a place of my own.
Cherish's mouth dropped open at Debbie's words. They had turned Debbie against her.
I thought you liked Carmel. He was in the orchard with you when you found Timmy.
I know, but I didn't invite him. He just appeared there. I guess he's growing on me, and I am fond of Carmel now, but I never grew up with a dog in the house, and it seems wrong. Cherish bit her lip. There was no point saying anything. They'd all just talk her down. Instead, she changed the subject.
So, you're thinking of moving out. Does that mean things are going well with you and Peter White?
Mom and Ada stared at Debbie, waiting for a response. I keep telling everyone that we're taking things slow. I have to adjust to being a mother first, and then I'll see if Peter and I will have a love that will last. In my day, you chose someone first, and then love grew, Ada stated. Cherish laughed.
Dad asked Mom to marry him the second time they met, and she said yes.
Mom frowned.
Stop saying that. It's not true. I knew him all along. We were in the same community. Yeah, well, you have your way of seeing things, and I have mine.
Mom glared at Cherish.
Pay her no mind, Debbie. You just do what feels right to you. There's no need to rush in. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread.
Cherish knew that would get a reaction from Ada and her mother, and she wasn't wrong.
Where did I hear that, you ask? I hear a lot of things at the cafe. And Ada, I know that's not in the Bible word for word, but I'm sure it's there somewhere hidden in a parable.
Ada stared at Wilma. Wilma, I don't know how you deal with her. Debbie just smiled.
If someone's making a cup of hot tea, I'd really like one.
Cherish makes the best tea, Ada said. Cherish rolled her eyes.
What do you want me to do? Shell the peas or make the tea?
Tea, everyone chorused. She was way outnumbered. Cherish couldn't wait until Fenella's headache got better. Chapter 6. The next day, Favor hurried outside to find Levi. Mom would say no, as would Florence. Levi was her only hope. And if she spoke nicely and told him why it was so important she visit Crystal, he just might agree. Since he wasn't in the stables or in the living room reading, she didn't know where he could be. She went back to the barn, and it was then she noticed one of the buggies was missing. When she stepped out of the barn, she saw Levi coming toward her in his horse and buggy. He pulled up beside her. You look lost.
I was looking for you.
What's happened?
Nothing. I just want to ask you if I could see Crystal just quickly. I'm worried about her after what happened, and
Yeah, I'm a little concerned too. Jump in. I'll drive you there and wait for you.
You will?
She went to get in. Wait. You'd better tell your mother where you're going.
I will.
She ran to the house and told Mom Levi was driving her to talk to Crystal, and then she ran out of the house just as fast before Mom could say she couldn't go. On the way to the miller's house, Favor said to Levi,
It must be good to know so much about horses like you do.
He frowned. Has someone said something? Someone like Matthew?
No. Everyone knows you're good with horses, and I'd like to be good at something like that.
The thing with horses isn't to dominate them. I've heard a lot of people say you've got to show them who's boss, but I say that's wrong. You've got to communicate with them. No one needs to be boss over the other. That's not how it works. You've got to become one with the horse.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's my thoughts anyway. Take them or leave them.
I've never given horses much thought, other than having them take me here or there.
Without them, we'd be walking everywhere. Favor laughed.
I wouldn't like that.
Me neither. They looked at each other and smiled. Here we are, he said when he pulled up outside the miller's gate.
Thank you for doing this. I really won't be long.
It's okay. Take your time. I'll have a nap while you're gone.
Are you sure?
Yeah. She ran to the house so she could have a few extra seconds with Crystal. Mrs. Miller opened the door and smiled. That was a good sign. Hello. I know you're one of the Baker girls, but I'm not sure which one.
I'm Favor.
Oh, that's right. I nearly said Favor. Are you here to see Crystal?
Yeah, if you can spare her for a moment.
Come in. She's upstairs cleaning the windows. You can go up and find her.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller.
Favor hurried up the stairs and managed to find Crystal in the first bedroom she came to.
Hey!
Crystal turned around with a damp rag in her hand. What are you doing here?
I came to see you.
Crystal threw the rag on the floor and ran to hug Favor. Then they sat on the bed.
I've been worried about you.
I'm okay. Mrs. Miller and I have kind of made peace. She even said she'd take me to see the bishop tomorrow to see if he can come up with a solution.
That's wonderbar. I hope he does. Wait, does that mean you might not have to stay here?
Crystal nodded.
That's what I'm hoping. And seeing Mrs. Miller is okay with that, I'm hopeful. I'm going to ask him if I can stay with you. I mean, I've been at the dairy farm for long enough.
Yes, do ask him. I hope he agrees.
People usually agree with me. I'm pretty good at talking people into things. I would be good at sales.
Bishop Paul isn't just anyone. Also, he'd ask Hannah for her opinion, and maybe one or two of the elders before he agrees. I don't see him making a quick decision.
Hannah is his wife?
Yeah, but you should know that by now.
I do, but I forget things that aren't important. Needs more storage room in my brain. You should leave room in your brain to remember the bishop's fra. I will, and I'll have to get her on my side too. But would Wilma and Levi have me back? They didn't look too happy to see me months ago when I arrived in the car with Debbie. They were just shocked, that's all. They were only expecting Debbie, and you'd not been gone long, so they were confused. They did say you should have stayed with your mother for longer. I hope that's all it was. They weren't happy when they found out the truth, but at least I told them the truth.
Crystal looked down.
That's all in the past. They should forget it. They have. I'm sure of it.
How is Debbie? Crystal asked.
She's pretty good. She's not far off from giving birth.
That's exciting.
It'll be even more exciting if you're there in the house when she has the baby. I know. Wouldn't that be great? I've missed all of you so much. I loved living there. It was the second best time of my life. Second best? That's right. Second best is good. The best time of my life was when I was with my best friend. Aren't I your best friend? You are now. I'll pray really hard that you can come to stay with us again. Thank you. I won't be there forever. I'll be happy if they let me stay for just a few weeks until I get my life sorted out. I need a job and a permanent place to live. I've been working on both of those things. I've been talking to a lot of people in the community to see how I could be useful to them. That sounds good. What, are you going to do odd jobs or something? No, I'll need to get a proper job, one that pays better. Until I get married, I want to live on my own without the restrictions that come from living with others. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Then they heard a voice from downstairs.
When you girls are finished talking, you could come down for refreshments.
Crystal's mouth dropped open.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller,
she called out. Then she whispered to Favor.
She's being nice. That's good. She's trying.
I guess so.
Why don't we go down now? Then I'll have to go home. Levi brought me over and he's waiting in the buggy. Okay. I'm so glad you came. You've brightened my day. Say a prayer for me for when I see the bishop. I will.
Chapter 7. The following day, Levi couldn't put off the inevitable any longer. He drove to the auction stables to fetch Rhymes, his new horse. He'd brought Samuel and Matthew with him for moral support. The other thing was, if the two men were with him when he brought Rhymes home, then surely Wilma wouldn't act too mad at him in front of them. Levi went to the office and handed over the balance of the money. It was always hard to part with cash, but he knew that his and Wilma's large household needed the extra buggy horse. It was practical. After that, he headed to the row of stables and found Rhymes. He couldn't stop smiling when he saw him. He was such a fine-looking horse, so alert and tall. Is he like you remember him, Levi? Matthew asked.
Yeah, he is. And are you happy I talked you into it?
Levi chuckled. I am. And you got him for a good price. Samuel patted Levi on his back.
He's already bought him, Uncle Samuel. No need to keep selling him.
Levi strapped a halter around Rhymes' head. Then he opened the stable door and led the horse to the horse and buggy and clipped Rhymes' lead to the side of the buggy.
We'll take it easy on the way home. Nice and slow.
He rubbed Rhymes' neck.
Hey, Levi, if you're worried about Wilma's reaction, how about buying her some flowers before you get home?
Levi frowned at Matthew.
What would she need flowers for? There are plenty in the garden. I just thought,
Samuel interrupted. She'd see right through that and it might upset her more.
I never thought of that. I just thought it would soften things for her. Women like flowers and that kind of stuff, don't they? I saw how Wilma liked the compliment you gave her over dinner, Levi. I thought flowers would show her you've been thinking of her,
Matthew said. I guess. They all got back into the buggy. As always, Matthew was in the back seat.
Does Cherish like flowers?
I don't know. Levi moved his horse forward.
I wouldn't go thinking like that if I were you.
Are you fond of Cherish? Samuel turned around from the front seat.
Who, me? No, not at all, but I was using her as an example. I just heard women like men to give them flowers, so I was just wondering if that was true.
It seems a waste to me. Why would someone want to cut flowers when you can enjoy them in the garden where they're meant to be? Levi asked. Samuel agreed. What they like is for us not to interrupt them when they're cooking or sewing, or doing anything. Just keep an eye on Rhymes, would you, Matthew? Matthew looked out the buggy at the horse trotting alongside. I can learn a lot from you two. Hope was in the living room when she saw Levi's buggy coming up the driveway with a horse attached at the side.
Levi and Samuel are here, and they've got a horse with them.
A horse? Ada shrieked. Mom frowned and got to her feet.
I wonder if it's lost, poor thing. Just like Timmy was lost. The owner will be fretting.
Let's find out. Everyone walked outside and they were soon gathered around the buggy.
Is the horse lost?
Wilma asked. Levi looked over as he unclipped the horse from the side of the buggy. His name is Rhymes. Wilma frowned.
Whose is it?
Samuel joined them from the other side of the buggy. It's Levi's new horse. Wilma's mouth dropped open.
Are you serious, Levi?
I am. It's not my new horse, it's the family's new horse.
Can we afford to buy a new horse? And that's not including paying for its upkeep.
Let him have his horse. It's like a pet to him, Hope said.
No, it's not like a pet. It's more like a family member.
That's what a pet is like, said Cherish.
Levi patted the horse's neck. The girls were trying to help, but the worst thing they could do was to keep saying the horse was a pet. Nay, horses are useful and they're necessary. This one is... Wilma folded her arms over her chest.
I don't see we need another one.
We just retired Dusty, or we will now. With all members of this family increasing, we do need another one. It takes 2 buggies to take us anywhere, and without Dusty, we'd be down to 2. What if one loses a shoe or goes lame? I solved the problem with Rhymes. Wilma narrowed her eyes.
Well, are we going to sell Dusty?
No, we're retiring him to pasture. Let him live out his days in comfort. He's served us well over the years. Mom gave Levi a look and then just walked inside without saying another word. She's upset, Hope said, stating the obvious. Levi didn't seem to be bothered. She'll understand in time. It always takes her a while to adjust to change.
Do you want me to talk with her?
Favor offered. Nay, just let her be. Matthew stepped forward. What about flowers? Everyone looked at him. That would cheer her up, don't you think? What are your thoughts, Aunt Ada? I think nothing will make Wilma feel any better about this situation, Matthew.
Well, I think it's great, Hope said.
Is that where you 3 have been all day? Ada asked. Yes, Samuel admitted. You might have told us. Levi grinned. I wanted it to be a surprise. It was more of a shock. Poor Wilma. You don't have a new horse hiding anywhere, do you, Samuel? No, we have enough. While Levi told the girls all about the new horse, Cherish headed inside to make sure her mother was okay. She found her mother sitting down, sewing the quilt.
The quilt is starting to take shape, isn't it?
Cherish sat next to her. Mom stared at the pieces of quilt over the table in front of her.
Not really. It's still in pieces.
Yeah, but a lot of those pieces are together now.
I don't know what you mean.
I just came in to say, could you be a little kinder to Levi? He's always doing his best for this family, and he's so kind. What does it matter if we need another horse, and we're giving the old one a place to live?
Mom's lips pinched together.
Do you think I was being unkind?
Cherish knew she was risking her mother being angry with her, but she felt sorry for Levi.
I do. A little bit.
I'm doing the best I can, too, and I was raised not to waste anything. From my side, I see the horses as a waste if they're not going to be used.
Yeah, but we do need a spare.
Mom shook her head.
Other people sell their old horses. Now we have 4. We're an apple orchard, not a place for old horses.
Levi probably has grown attached to his old horse, just like I'm attached to Timmy or to Carmel. I wouldn't sell them because they're old. I won't sell you when you're old.
The corners of Mom's lips twitched into a sly smile. That's just as well, because no one would buy me. Cherish scratched her head.
That's probably a bad example, but do you know what I mean? I don't think it's nice to discard things just because they're old. And I thought you'd feel that too since...
What? Since I'm old?
Yeah.
I keep telling you, I'm not that old, Cherish.
Can you say to Levi it's great that he got another horse? I mean, he's right. If one gets broken down, we'll have a spare. If we don't have a spare, half of us won't be able to attend the meetings.
You think I was mean to him?
Wilma asked once more.
Cherish nodded.
You just asked me that, and I said I think you were a little mean. Also, he might have been embarrassed that you talked like that in front of everybody.
Did anyone say anything to you about that?
Nay, I just thought he looked sad when he was only trying to make everything the best he can for everyone. Look how kind he's been to Joy and Isaac, letting them live in the house. Then there's Debbie. He's given her a place to live.
So have I. It was my decision, too. Anyway, Joy and Isaac will be buying their own place soon.
I know that, Mom. So, you see what I mean?
If it means so much to you, I'll tell him he's done the right thing by loading us up with unnecessary horses.
Cherish was happy. She knew that was the best she was going to get. Danke, Mom.
Cherish leaned over and gave her mother a kiss on her cheek. Now, pick up some patches and start sewing, or we'll never get this done. Debbie and Hope are cooking the evening meal, so the rest of us can concentrate on this.
Okay.
Cherish wanted her mother to go outside right now and talk to Levi, but it seemed her mother had other plans. Chapter 8. Debbie always looked forward to every other Saturday when she and Peter spent time together. "How have you been?" he asked when she got into the buggy next to him.
"I've been fine. I'm slowing down and I can't do as much. It's hard to even get up when I'm in a chair."
"It's an exciting time."
"It is now. I'm feeling better about it. My parents still haven't contacted me, though. They wrote to Levi and then he wrote back and then nothing."
"It'll probably take them some time."
"Time for what?"
"Time to realize that you're all grown up and you make your own decisions."
"Exactly. What's been happening with you?"
"Pretty much the same, except..." His voice trailed off.
"Except what?"
"I've been offered a job with one of my uncles."
"That's wonderful. Doing what?"
"He owns a sawmill. He's expanding it, and he said he could use my help."
"That sounds perfect. Where's his sawmill?"
"Michigan. It's a day's car ride away."
"Oh."
She was so disappointed. She'd come to see him as part of her future, her new beginning. "What do you think I should do?"
"That would be up to you."
"It would be a secure job with good pay. Right now, I'm doing whatever I can get, a bit here and a bit there." She didn't know if he meant that they'd both move there, but since he knew she wanted to take things slow, he wouldn't have meant for them to get married and then go there.
"When do you have to give your uncle an answer?"
"Pretty soon."
"I can't help you. You'll have to make that decision on your own."
"I was hoping you'd ask me to stay."
"I can't. I feel it's not my place. We're only just starting to get to know each other. Who knows where it will lead?"
He nodded and was quiet for a while. She didn't mean to sound harsh, but what was she supposed to say?
"I mean, I don't want you to go, Peter, but I can't ask you not to go."
He turned and smiled at her. "You don't want me to go?"
"No, I'd miss you."
"That's all I wanted to hear. I won't take the job."
"Are you sure?"
"I am. I'd rather stay here and be close to you. We'll see where our journey will take us."
"I like the sound of that. There might be a job coming up soon in Mark's saddlery store."
"Really?"
"Yes. He mentioned something about it over the meal last night."
He rubbed his chin. "I might have to have a talk with him. Now, where would you like to go today?"
"I wouldn't mind going into town. I want to get something for Aunt Wilma and Uncle Levi. I don't know what, though."
"Are they having their birthdays or something?"
"No, but they've been so good to me, and I want to show my appreciation in some way. Do you have any ideas?"
"What kind of things were you thinking?"
I'm not sure. I had hoped you'd be able to help me.
Do they need anything?
No. I would make them something or knit them something, but I don't get a lot of free time, especially with not being well lately.
I know Levi likes horses. What about something to do with horses?
Like what?
I'm not sure.
We could go to Mark's saddlery store. He might have some ideas.
Okay, but then there's Wilma. My mother always likes a nice teacup and saucer.
That's a good idea. I might get her a teapot. She was complaining the other day that one of her daughters broke one of her good teapots recently.
Great. That's organized, in part. We'll go to the saddlery store first. I'll mention I'm looking for a job.
I haven't seen Mark's store yet. His wife and I become good friends.
It's good to have people you can connect with. When's her baby due?
A couple of months after mine.
Debbie was enjoying their small talk all the way to Mark's store. Just as they were at the entrance, they came face to face with Peter's mother. She smiled at them in a most peculiar way. I didn't know I'd be seeing you in town. Or seeing you, Debbie. Peter's face flushed red, and then he glanced at Debbie. You knew I was taking Debbie out today. I did. I knew that. You must share a meal with us one night, Debbie.
I'd like that.
Peter's told me all about you. Peter hung his head. Debbie was pleased to hear it. It was nice that he'd talked to his mother about her.
All good things, I hope.
Of course. Only good things. Peter tipped his hat back slightly. I'll talk to Debbie and we'll arrange a night in a few weeks. Debbie's got a lot going on at the moment. She glanced at Debbie's stomach. I know. Then she looked back up at them. Why are you two here? Everything felt awkward, and Debbie didn't know why.
I was just looking for a gift for someone who likes horses.
Well, you've probably come to the right place. She looked at Peter. I should go. I got what I came to get. A new part for the harness. I could have got that for you, Mom. No need. I like to get out of the house every now and again. You were in such a hurry to pick up Debbie. She gave Debbie a beaming smile, and Peter rubbed the back of his neck. Debbie thought it was funny that his mother was embarrassing him. Isaac came up to them. Hello. Nice to see you again, Peter. And you too, Debbie. Hello, Peter said. You're by yourself today? I am. Mark had to take Christina somewhere, to visit the midwife or some such thing. I block my ears when things like that are talked about. So it's just me. He rubbed his hands together. What are you looking for? Isaac kept talking to Peter and looking at him, as though Peter was the customer.
We're here for me, Debbie told him. I want to get a small gift for Levi.
And we know he loves horses, so we thought you might have something suitable here. Isaac rubbed his beard. A gift? Do you have any idea what kind of thing you're after?
No, I thought you might have some ideas.
Not too many people come here to buy gifts.
There must be something.
Have a look around. Something might jump out at you.
We'll do that. Thanks.
When Isaac walked away, Peter whispered to Debbie, He's not much of a salesman, is he? Debbie giggled.
That's right. You used to be a salesman. What would you sell me then?
He looked around. It's a little difficult. I don't know the stock. First thing I might ask you is, what's your budget?
As little as possible.
He smiled as they started walking down the first aisle. That's what people usually say.
Why would you ask that, though? Because won't they be focused on price? Aren't you supposed to sell them a higher-priced item?
There's two schools of thought about that. You can start showing them higher-priced items, and you can normally tell from their face when they see the price whether it's out of their budget or not. Then you move on to something a little lower, so you can keep the price totally out of it. Or you can lead with it to try to get a better idea where you're going.
Sounds kind of complicated.
It's not when you get used to it. Debbie stopped to admire some brass buckles.
So, were you good at sales?
She wished she hadn't said that. They'd already talked about that. I was. I thought I told you that. I made some good money out of it before I lost it in some bad investments.
That's right. I do remember you talking about that. My memory's not been too good lately.
That's not surprising. You've had a lot to think about.
They wandered down the second aisle. I guess it was a mistake coming here. I mean, it's not very personal if I get him some oil for his leathers or a hoof pick for his horse. I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, what about a special coffee mug or some candy?
He doesn't really eat candy. I've never seen him eat sweets at all apart from desserts.
That's not helpful.
I know. I don't mind the idea of a special mug, though.
Peter tapped her shoulder. Look over there. She stood on tiptoes to see where he was pointing. Near the cash register was a stand of coffee mugs.
Perfect! That's just what you suggested. Let's take a closer look.
When they were looking at the mugs, Isaac wandered over. Oh, yeah, I forgot about them. They'd make a good gift.
I know. I like this one. Do you think Levi will like it?
I'd be surprised if he didn't. I'd like it if someone got me that.
Great. I'll get this one. And do you gift wrap?
Isaac raised his eyebrows. I only have brown paper, but I think I have some ribbons and bows left over from one of our Christmas promotions.
That would be nice if you can find it.
He came out of the back room with a box. Then he produced a red bow and some ribbon. We're in luck, and I'm pretty good at wrapping, after some lessons from Joy. That woman can do anything.
I'd believe it. She's very capable.
Debbie paid for the mug, and then Peter and Debbie watched as Isaac wrapped it, wound the ribbon around, and then placed the bow on top.
Perfect. Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you, and do come again. Debbie held her package up.
I will, if I ever need another horse mug.
Have a nice day, Isaac said. We will. Peter guided Debbie out of the shop. He was the slowest wrapper I've ever seen. Debbie looked down at the box.
He did a good job, don't you think?
It is pretty good. Now, to find somewhere that sells teapots. Chapter 9. When Debbie came home, she managed to get the gifts inside without anyone seeing. Then she sat on her bed thinking about the wonderful day she'd had with Peter. It was nice to go out in public with a man and be a couple. Sort of a couple. A couple that wasn't hiding away from the world. Everything with Peter was so easy. Now her mind turned to how Peter felt. They were only seeing each other alone every fortnight, so that left room for some other woman to steal him away. There were a few single women in the community that she was worried about. Crystal had shown him attention, and he'd asked about her when he'd been invited over for a family meal. Debbie hoped he'd stay interested in her and not be swayed by Crystal or any other woman. That night over dinner, Debbie excused herself, went up to her room, and then came down with the gifts. She handed Levi his and Wilma hers, and then she sat down again. The two of them looked at her with astonishment.
These are little gifts to show my appreciation. Thank you for allowing me to stay here.
Oh, Debbie, that's totally unnecessary. I agree, said Levi.
Open them.
When they unwrapped them, she could tell from the looks on their faces they were happy with her choices. Thank-a, Debbie. I feel dreadful that you gave me something so nice. Look, everyone. Wilma lifted the teapot for all to see.
You deserve it.
I do feel bad. Debbie laughed. It's a beautiful teapot indeed, Ada said. Now, Cherish, this is something you must stay away from. You don't want to break it like you broke the other good one of your mother's. Cherish nodded.
I am sorry about that, Mom.
That's okay, but it's probably best you do what Ada says and only use the plain one.
If that's what you want, I'm sure the tea will taste better in this one. Are you going to make everyone tea tonight then, Ada, since I can't use it?
Nay, I'm sure one of the other girls can do it. Like Hope, she's very careful. I do like this mug. It was a very thoughtful gift. I'll only drink out of this one. Remember that, Wilma. And we'll know it's yours because there's a horse on it, Samuel said. Later that evening, there was a loud knock on the door. The girls were in the kitchen clearing up. All the visitors had gone home, and Wilma was in the living room with Levi.
Who can that be at this hour?
Mom asked. Only one way to find out, said Levi. I'll go see who it is. Cherish was supposed to be doing the washing up, but she peeped around the corner. She saw Levi open the door to the bishop. She spun around and said to the others, "It's the bishop." "Shh, he'll hear you," Hope said. Cherish couldn't think why the bishop was there on a Saturday night.
"Someone must have died. That's the only reason the bishop comes to our house,"
Fenella said. Cherish watched as the bishop walked into the living room. Debbie picked up a tea towel.
"I hope it's not about me."
"It wouldn't be. Don't worry,"
Bliss told her. A minute later, Mom was back, telling them to leave the kitchen and go up to their rooms. They looked at each other, wondering what could be so important.
"What is it, Mom?"
Favor asked.
"He just wants to have a talk with us in private."
"Is it about me?"
Debbie whispered.
"Nay, it's not about any of you. You can all come back down when he's gone."
They all walked out of the kitchen, single file, and said hello to the bishop before they headed up the stairs. Instead of going to separate rooms, they all decided to go into Debbie's room. But it was too much for Cherish. She had to find out what was being said.
"I'm going to listen." "Nay, you can't,"
Bliss told her.
"That's why we're up here. They're having a private talk."
"I know, but they won't know that I'm here."
Cherish moved out of the bedroom before anyone could talk her out of it. She crept along the hallway and cringed every time the floorboards creaked. When she got to the top of the stairs, she lowered herself to her stomach and inched along until she got a view of the top of Levi's head. Then she heard them talking. Wilma had started by asking the bishop if he wanted coffee or anything, and he'd said no. Bishop Paul cleared his throat. "The reason I'm here is that I have a problem you might be able to help me with."
"We'll do all that we can,"
Wilma told him. "It's about Crystal." Cherish held her breath and her heart pounded. "No." "She's not doing too well with the Millers, and they said they don't mind if she stays somewhere else. They gave her a good report and spoke so highly of her that I don't mind if she stays out her 3 weeks with a different family." "And how can we help with that?" Levi asked. "As you know, we already had her here for quite some time."
"Good! Levi, good!"
Cherish screamed in her head. "I know, but it will only be for 3 weeks." Mom must have sensed Levi's reluctance.
"You see, we're so busy with the harvest and—"
"Excellent. She can help. She's trying really hard, and I can see she'll be a valuable member of this community. Everyone knows that dairy is hard work, and she's done that to the best of her ability. The point of putting her with a family is so they can live our way of life. We're not trying to break her. I think she's at the breaking point. And do either of you want to see that?" The bishop looked at Levi and then looked at Mom. This wasn't good. Both Levi and Mom shook their heads. Then Levi tried again. "The problem is she doesn't get along with everyone who lives here. Feelings are still bruised from how she lied to us all. It might take some time for those wounds to heal." Cherish was pleased with what Levi said, and then she inched forward on her tummy a tiny bit more so she could see the bishop's face. No, he looked so determined that she already knew the outcome. This was dreadful. After a moment, the bishop said, "The best way to overcome those feelings might be to have Crystal back here."
"Isn't there somewhere else?"
Mom asked. The bishop shook his head. "I think this will be the ideal place for her. It'll only be for 3 weeks, and then she will be finished with her instructions. If she hasn't found herself another place to live by then, I'll find another place for her." 3 weeks, you say? Levi asked. Cherish was upset. Levi was weakening. Even Mom was staring at him and silently saying, "Don't do it." "Yeah, that's all," the bishop said. "She can stay here starting on Monday if you're agreeable." Levi rubbed his beard. "You're making it hard to say no."
The bishop chuckled and jumped to his feet as though the decision was made.
Danke, Levi. He turned to Mom. You too, Wilma.
Wilma gave a quick nod and looked down.
Levi stood up. Shall we fetch her on Monday?
No need. Hannah and I will bring her here Monday afternoon. I'd like to have another talk with her on the way here. You're doing a good and neighborly thing. Levi walked the bishop to the door while Wilma stayed in her seat. When the bishop reached the door, he turned and said goodbye to Mom. It was only then she got to her feet to say goodbye. Once he was gone, Mom collapsed into the chair.
Oh, Levi, this is dreadful.
He sat down in his chair.
We'll have to make the best of it.
How can we? We can't after what she did. She fooled us all and lied to us all.
Yeah, I know. But she is having a new start. She has said she's sorry for all that she did, so we need to accept that.
Mom huffed, and from where Cherish was, she could feel her mother's aggravation.
I can and have accepted her apology, but that doesn't mean I want her back here. I do like her, I always have. But can we trust her? She showed far too much interest in Peter White when she was here for dinner that time.
That's none of our concern.
It is if it's happening under our roof. You could have said no.
I couldn't, really. Bishop Paul thought this was the best place for her for the moment, and we have to accept that.
I guess you're right. Are you going to tell the girls? Not all of them are going to be happy.
He picked up his paper.
You can tell them.
Thanks very much for that. I just wasn't expecting it.
Me neither, and he made it difficult to say no. She doesn't get along with Cherish.
There will be trouble. I can feel it. I don't mind Crystal, but I know you don't want her here because of how she lied to us. Not once, but twice.
Now Mom was repeating herself. Levi had his nose in his paper and didn't appear to be listening.
What's done is done.
Mom threw her hands in the air.
It's unbelievable. How am I going to tell the girls?
Favor will be pleased.
I know, but we have our hands full with Debbie, don't we? I suppose we should have spoken up. How do you feel about it, Levi? You didn't say much to the bishop.
He lowered his paper.
Not great, but we'll welcome Crystal and put the past behind us. Every day is a new day.
That's all we can do, I suppose.
Cherish heard someone walking toward her. The floorboards creaked loudly, and Cherish swiftly moved out of the way in case Mom or Levi looked up the stairs. She saw Favor.
What's going on?
Favor asked. Cherish stood up.
They have some news.
Oh no, who died?
They said no one died. Didn't you hear that?
No, I wasn't listening.
Girls, come down here. Levi and I have something to tell you.
Debbie's bedroom door opened and the girls hurried out. Debbie was the last of them. When they were all sitting on the couch, Mom said,
Crystal is going to be staying with us for just a few weeks.
Truly? Favor shrieked.
That's right,
Levi told her.
But only for a few weeks.
Hope frowned.
They let her out of staying with the Millers? That's hardly fair. Fairfax had to stay the entire time. He was doing the milking, too. All she was doing was helping in the house.
When is she coming? Asked Favor.
Tonight?
She only did the milking once. One time. Hope scowled. Levi, when is she coming?
How is that fair?
Hope asked.
Will you shut up, Hope?
Favor yelled. Mom stood up.
Go to your room right now. You'll get extra chores next week for that.
Mom walked over and pulled Favor to her feet.
We don't talk like that in this house. What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm only trying to find out when she's coming. Won't someone tell me?
Monday,
Levi said.
The bishop is bringing her here Monday.
Great. Favor turned to Hope.
Sorry, Hope. You're forgiven, but I still can't believe what's just happened. To your room now.
Favor hurried away and scurried up the stairs.
Levi looked at Cherish. I thought you'd have more to say about this.
Cherish's gaze darted about the room.
She didn't want to make things worse. I think it must be hard to say no to the bishop. We'll all make her feel welcome, even though our feelings might be hurt over what happened.
Everyone was fine with her when she had a meal with us,
Bliss said. Yeah, and it will be another helping hand with the chores. Another person to help in the shop, and another pair of hands to help finish off the harvest. Mom tried to smile. I'd be lying if I said I was totally happy. I do like Crystal, and I am fond of her, but... I think we've said enough, Wilma. Mom continued. Well, you all know now. We have another person living with us. You know Crystal, don't you, Debbie?
I do. I've seen quite a bit of her.
That's right, you would have. I've met her too, Vanilla said. That's good. Do you want me to go home earlier to help make room? Vanilla suggested. No! Cherish grabbed her arm. That's not necessary. We have plenty of rooms. You must stay as long as possible, Cherish told her. Vanilla laughed. Okay. And we'll all get along. Our family meeting is now over. Wilma turned to Levi. Would you like a cup of something? I wouldn't mind a cup of hot tea if anyone's making one. And of course, I'll have it in my special mug. He looked over at Debbie and smiled. Chapter 10. On Monday morning, everyone was up early. There was another group of school children coming, and they needed gift bags for each of them. Some of the items in the bags were candy apples and dried apples. Favor had also dried some apple seeds if they wanted to grow their own apple trees. Of course, that would take years, but Favor was convinced children loved growing things from seeds. There were other kinds of candy in their bags, too, and a bar of fragrant apple blossom soap. All the sisters in Florence had fun showing the children around the orchard and answering their questions. Cherish couldn't enjoy the day fully because she knew Crystal was coming back to the house that afternoon. She did her best to forget about it, but she couldn't. When the school children left that afternoon, Cherish and Vanilla went back to the house to have a break. On hearing noise upstairs, they hurried to see what was happening. Levi and Samuel were moving another single bed into Favor's room. The house had plenty of bedrooms, but Crystal and Favor preferred to be in the same room. Adding the second bed would save one of them from sleeping on the floor.
What are you thinking, Cherish?
Vanilla whispered. Cherish pulled Vanilla into her bedroom, and then the two of them sat on her bed. Can't you guess? When she moves in, it'll be one of the saddest days of my life. I can't believe that Levi agreed to this. It's hard to say no to the bishop. You said that yourself. Only to make Levi feel better. He could have tried harder to get out of it. At least Favor's happy now. I guess so. Then you'll be going home soon, and then I'll be left with no one. Favor's always off with Crystal, and they don't let me into their group. It's a group for 2, not 3. What about Hope? Cherish shook her head. No, she's always talking about her wedding or sewing, and that's when she's not with Fairfax. I guess Bliss is always with... What's his name again? Adam Wingard. I told you about what happened with him, didn't I? You did, but Bliss didn't really steal him from you because you and he were never together. I saw him first. Vanilla laughed, but Cherish didn't find anything funny. She thought a close friend would agree with her. Wilma and Ada always agreed with each other, and so did Favor and Crystal. He wouldn't suit you anyway. You need someone with a little more spark, and you've got plenty of time to find someone else. Adam's got spark. You're just not seeing it because Bliss is so boring and she's probably snuffed it out. Cherish stuck her nose in the air. Anyway, my future husband will have to be the one to find me. I'm not going to embarrass myself by going around deliberately looking for someone. I'll keep a lookout for you when I go home. I might come across some possibles. Yeah, well, don't worry about looking for any possibles for me. You're making me sound desperate, and I'm not old enough to be like that. I'm also moving to the farm, so I don't want the bother of falling in love with someone who won't move there with me. Fine, I'll just keep a lookout for myself. Fine. Cherish felt bad. She didn't want to be mean to her only friend. I'm sorry. I'm just so upset by Crystal coming here.
She's not nice. She might have changed. I don't think so. I thought so at first, but that was before she fooled Eddie's entire family into thinking she was having a dreadful time at the dairy farm. Who knows what she said to the bishop about the Millers? She was bad-mouthing our entire community to Eddie's family, and they're outsiders. That's what I think she was doing. So why is the bishop okay with that? It's quite funny about the cow spraying her with green manure after kicking the bucket of milk over. Cherish smiled at the thought of that scene playing out. How she wished she could have seen it. I know. Anyway, you'll get to know her and you can see for yourself. I don't want to influence you. You won't. I'm not easy to influence. That's right. Otherwise, I wouldn't be friends with you. Let's get back to the orchard or Florence will be angry. I saw her looking at her watch when we left. Cherish got off the bed. Okay. Did you see her smiling today? I did notice that. She loves showing the children around.
Chapter 11. On Tuesday, Florence decided to separate Fenella and Cherish. She said they didn't do their work properly because they were messing about too much or disappearing. Cherish was offended. It wasn't true, but Cherish decided to do her very best today to make Florence happy. She was so grumpy most of the time. She had always been very strict, but she'd never been so irritable. Around the middle of the day, Cherish noticed Florence heading her way. Florence walked up and looked in the large container they used to throw the rotting and badly damaged apples. It was as big as a trailer. "Who's been putting good apples in here?" she yelled so loud that Cherish nearly fell off her ladder. "Not me." Matthew had been working in the row of trees on the opposite side. "That was me. Isn't that where we're supposed to put them?" "No! Cherish, why weren't you watching him?" Cherish placed an apple into the bucket that was looped over her arm. "Why wasn't I watching him? Was I supposed to be?" "No, but surely if you see someone doing the wrong thing, you'll tell them what to do." "I didn't know he was doing it. I was too busy doing my thing." Matthew walked over. "What have I done?" "The red containers are for the rotting apples, the ones we can't use and have to throw out. They're the ones we can't use for anything." He tipped his hat back on his head. "I thought you used them all." "No, not when they're rotten, and any moldy ones will contaminate the good ones." "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "You would have known if you'd been listening on the first day of harvest. You were there. I tell everyone to listen up because it's so important." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I heard everything else you said. Must have missed that part." Florence narrowed her eyes at him. "The most important part." Cherish went back to picking the apples, glad that she wasn't the one her older sister was focused on. Florence was almost embarrassing with the way she was carrying on. Matthew was working for nothing, helping them out of the goodness of his heart. "I'll just take them out. No harm done." "No harm done?" "Yes, there is harm done. We can't use apples if they've touched rotten ones." Cherish had to stick up for him. "Calm down, Florence. The apples will be okay if he gets them out quickly. They've only been in there for a couple of hours." "What would you know?" "I'd know." "Okay then. You help him get them out and only get the top ones out. I don't want any good apples affected. Better yet, get only the good ones out and you can both make cider with them this afternoon." "I don't mind making cider, but do I have to get them out of the container? I'm on a roll here with what I'm doing." Florence placed her hands on her hips. "Yes, you have to help him because you should have been making sure he knew what he was doing." "It's not Cherish's fault. It's not my first time at fruit picking." "That makes it even worse." Florence stood there glaring at them both. She turned and stomped away. Cherish watched Matthew staring after her. "It's okay. She's gone now. You don't have to be scared of her. She doesn't mean it." He smiled as he looked over at Cherish. "I'm not scared of her. I think she's an attractive woman." "Who, Florence?" "Yeah." "Is that why you were looking at her like that?" He nodded. "She's got those intense blue eyes, and there's something about a beautiful woman when she's angry." Cherish laughed.
You're totally mad, Matthew.
I've been called worse.
I believe it.
Cherish climbed down the ladder and placed her bucket on the ground. Matthew reached into the red container and picked out some apples.
I didn't know they were the rotten apples.
You didn't even look, did you?
He chuckled.
No, not really. I didn't know that I should have been looking for that. Why is this container in the middle of the orchard?
Don't worry about it. Just spread them out on the ground, and we'll make sure we can save only the good ones for the cider. Honestly, it would take days for the good apples to be contaminated. Florence is just in a bad mood. She's never normally like this. I wonder what's troubling her.
Who knows? Not me.
Cherish frowned.
Or me. Now we've got to fix your mistake.
Thanks for helping me with this, Cherish.
Cherish looked up at him. He was just standing there.
It's my first good deed for the day. Didn't you say you did 3?
Levi said that, but it's true because that's what I told him.
Let's get this done as soon as possible.
Okay. How many good deeds do you try to do each day, Cherish?
I'll start with 1, and this is it.
After they had sorted the apples, they got a wheelbarrow full of good apples and wheeled them over to the shed that housed the cider-making equipment. They spread the apples into an old bathtub that they used for washing them and blasted the apples with water. They threw any no-good ones they'd missed into a bucket and then put the others into the grinder and started turning the handle. Out flowed the cider into the bucket below. He laughed as he saw it come out.
Can we drink it now?
Sure.
She lifted the heavy bucket and poured cider into a glass and gave it to him. Then she poured a glass for herself. She drank it, right to the bottom. She knew she had a froth mustache, but she pretended she didn't know. When he looked at her, he nearly choked on his own cider. He had to turn and spit it out on the grass because he was laughing so much.
Look at yourself.
Why? What's wrong?
He kept laughing.
Oh, you mean this?
She pointed to her face.
I like it. And I think you'd look better with a beard.
She skimmed off some froth and managed to slap some on his chin as he tried to make his escape. Then he gave up and patted the froth around his chin.
How do I look?
Great. Only you can't grow a good beard. You should give up now.
Florence walked closer and saw them messing about.
Hey, what are you two up to?
Cherish quickly wiped her face.
Making cider. Would you like some?
I would like less fooling around and more working. This isn't a game. Is the orchard a game to you, Cherish? You own a part of this business. Would you let your farm manager fool around like this all day? Cherish felt bad.
No, it's not a game, and I don't think about it like that. But there's no reason we can't have a little fun along the way. It makes the day go quicker. Since when did you get so serious, Florence?
Since people depend on me to live. Matthew wiped his face on his sleeve.
I'm sorry, Florence. This was all my fault.
Florence shrugged. It's okay. I'm just a little tired and irritable today. Carry on. Have your fun and whatever you were doing, but make sure you get the work done. When Florence walked away, Cherish whispered to Matthew.
Hey, thanks for that.
For what?
Taking the blame. She wouldn't get as mad at you.
I'm not so sure about that. I heard she gave my brother a pretty hard time when he was here.
Which one?
Jonathan. She's a no-nonsense kind of a woman.
He stared after her once again. Cherish hit him.
Stop it!
It was weird that he thought Florence was attractive. For starters, she was a married woman, and he shouldn't have been looking at or thinking about her at all.
Did you ask me what she said to my brother?
No, and I don't want to know.
Cherish was embarrassed when she remembered the crush she'd had on Jonathan when she was about 13. He was the reason she was sent to Aunt Dagmar's. They thought she'd interfere in Jonathan and Honor's relationship.
Yeah, he probably deserved it.
Most likely. He's a lot better now that he married your sister. I'm glad he found her when he came here.
I'm glad too. One less older sister in the house to boss me about.
Hey, I'm the youngest too. We got something in common.
Cherish looked over at him.
That would possibly be the only thing we have in common.
They both carried on with the cider bottling. When Florence was in the middle of the orchard, she thought about Cherish's words. She wasn't enjoying the process anymore. She loved her orchard, but these days she had too much work to do and felt she was drowning. Now there were 3 orchards to run, since she and Carter had purchased Fairfax's parents' orchard and had started their own from nothing. How could she lighten her load? She'd talked to Carter about hiring a manager to take her place, just at the Baker apple orchard. Between all her work, looking after Iris, and things at home being in upheaval with building the new house, life had been hectic. Carter was always telling her she should look at outsourcing her workload. He could help her find a way to do it. A manager would free her up to have more time to figure out how to make all 3 orchards more profitable. Chapter 12. When Cherish's chores were finished, she headed to the barn to make a call to her farm. Having such fun with Matthew reminded her of Malachi for some reason, and then Florence had mentioned him. As always, he answered breathlessly, as though he'd been running for the phone. Cherish began. "I've been expecting a letter. No, that's the wrong word. I've been waiting for a letter from you, but none has come. Why's that?"
Oh, it's you.
"Yes, it's me. Who were you expecting?"
Could have been anybody.
"So, where's my letter keeping me updated on the farm,
I got the same reason as the last time for not writing. I ain't got no time to write." Cherish huffed.
"Well, what's going on?"
Nothing, really. I've planted more vegetables, and I can pretty much use everything I grow. And you'll be surprised to know that Ruth and I are getting along well.
Ruth? From next door, that Ruth?
Yes.
How did that happen?
All Cherish could recall was Ruth saying he wasn't trustworthy. When the 2 of them were close, they wouldn't even look at each other. I've been taking over any vegetables and fruit I've got too much of.
Oh, and that worked?
Hey, I wasn't trying to get on her good side. I was just being myself.
I'm happy about that. Now you won't feel so isolated.
I never feel like that. I love it here.
Good to know. And how is everyone else?
Great. Cherish looked down at the dirt on the barn floor. She wanted to know what was happening between him and the dreadful Annie Wiley, but she couldn't ask. Thanks for checking in, Cherish. Is that all?
Depends. Is that all you've got to tell me? How are the animals?
They're all good.
And the chickens?
He chuckled. Don't even say the word. It's making my neck itchy. Cherish laughed about his chicken phobia. She'd never known anyone to react like that over something as harmless as a chicken. I thought you might be calling me to tell me that you're coming back soon.
I'd love to.
She was pleased he wanted her there. That was a good sign. A sign that he might only be friends with Annie Wiley. When?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's the harvest right now, and then we'll all be getting ready for Hope's wedding. It'll be here at the house. Hey, why don't you come?
Nah, you know I can't leave this place. Who'd feed the animals?
What about Ruth? Or someone in the community? Surely someone could look after them for a couple of days.
You really want me to come there?
No.
She shuddered when that spilled out of her mouth.
I mean, sure, why not? Weddings are always fun. Other people's weddings, that is.
But not your own? He asked.
I've never had one, so I can't say. I suppose it would be fun if it was your own.
I've always wanted to see your apple orchard. It sounds like it's a lovely place.
It is. I'll miss it when I move to the farm.
You're just trying to change the subject. When will you be here?
Oh, sorry, I got distracted. Let me see. We've got Hope's wedding, and then it'll be Christmas. Florence won't be able to take me there. Ada and Samuel took me last time. Maybe Mom would come with me. I guess it would have to be just before or just after Christmas.
I'll look forward to it. Just let me know when.
I will.
He wanted a warning. Why was that? Did he want to tell Annie not to come around so much? Cherish didn't like the sound of it. How often was she there? Cherish knew she couldn't even mention a trip to the farm to Wilma until after Hope's wedding. Anything else you want to talk about? Malachi asked.
Well, there is one thing that's been bothering me.
Uh-oh, what have I done?
Nothing. I've just got a relationship issue, and I thought...
You're in a relationship?
Cherish giggled. No, silly, it's not my relationship. I wouldn't be talking to you about that.
Fair enough. Whose relationship is it you want to gossip about?
I said I want advice, and it's not a romantic relationship. It's more of a family relationship. It's about my stepsister and her cousin. They don't really get along, and I don't know why.
Just ask 'em. No good asking me.
I can't do that. I want to figure it out. You see, if one was mean and the other was nasty, I'd think that one had done something awful to the other. But they're both so nice. So you see the problem? The other thing is, they haven't been around each other much when they were growing up. I have to wonder if something bad happened on one of their visits.
Maybe they just don't get along. That happens. You don't always get along with everyone.
Who, me?
He laughed. Don't take things so personal all the time. I don't mean you. I mean, everyone gets along with some more so than others.
Maybe, but I can't help thinking there's something more to it.
Hey, if that's the biggest problem you've got in your life right now, you're doing pretty good.
It's not my problem. It's just that when I don't know something, it bugs me. Take you, for example. Anything I should know about you that you're not telling me?
This was a perfect time to tell her if he was courting Annie. She held her breath. No.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing at all.
Well, there might be something. Cherish knew it.
What is it?
I think I've got an ingrown toenail.
She shuddered. Ooh, don't talk about feet.
Well, stop asking.
I wasn't asking about your smelly feet.
Do they smell?
How would I know? Ooh, stop talking.
He chuckled. I should go get some work done.
Me too. I've got tons of work to do.
Bye, Cherish.
Bye, Malachi.
She replaced the phone's receiver. He didn't mention Annie at all. If they had planned to get married, he would have had to have said something. Ruth from next door would know. She flipped through the address book and found the number of the Englisher neighbor. She dialed the number and waited. There was no answer. She let it ring out and then hung up the phone's receiver. Cherish walked back to the house, wondering if Malachi might come to Hope's wedding. If he came, would Annie Wiley come with him? If she came, she would stay for days. She might even stay with Ada and show her how to make those stupid gingerbread houses. It was all too horrible to think about. Chapter 13. When the bishop's buggy pulled up at the house with Crystal, everyone walked outside to greet them. Everyone except for Cherish. She couldn't face her. She was still so upset with Levi and Mom for allowing her back into the house. Cherish raced up the stairs and closed her bedroom door. Then she walked over and looked out the window to watch what was happening. Fenella burst into the room.
Why are you up here? I just don't like her. I'm sorry, but I don't.
They both looked out the window and watched Crystal stepping down from the buggy, clutching a large bag to herself. Then the bishop got out too, and they both walked to the house. Then Cherish's anger turned into another emotion. Was it pity?
Crystal looks so lost. And does that one bag contain everything she owns in the world?
Cherish thought about how much she owned, all the dresses, different prayer caps, and her coats.
That's awful. My brother would own more than that, and he's a young boy who doesn't need anything except his turtle,
Fenella said.
I do feel bad for her, even though she's devious and unkind. She has no real family close by. She doesn't have a proper home at all. What about her mother? She's up north somewhere, and Crystal doesn't want to be near her.
Cherish moved away from the window, knowing she had to go and welcome her back to the house.
Now I feel bad. I'm going to be nice to her from now on. I'm glad about that. I'm sure Crystal's sorry for everything she's done.
Fenella moved in front of Cherish to open the bedroom door. Cherish walked through the doorway and saw Crystal heading into Favor's room with Favor behind her.
Welcome back, Crystal.
Crystal looked over at her, with a faint smile hinting at her lips.
Thank you, Cherish.
I'm happy to be back. Crystal and Favor moved into their room. Cherish said to Fenella, "Let's help Mom. She'll be giving the bishop hot tea and cake. Then we'll have to help with the evening meal." The two girls hurried down the stairs, and Cherish felt a little lighter for being nice to Crystal. In the back of her mind, though, she couldn't help feeling it was only a matter of time before Crystal did something else to upset her. To celebrate Crystal's arrival, the whole of the extended family were having the evening meal at the Baker Bruner household. Debbie, Mom, and Ada did most of the cooking. As well as Fairfax and Adam, Christina and Mark were there, along with Joy and Isaac. Matthew was the first to speak after the silent prayer of thanks for the food had been given. "Welcome back to the orchard, Crystal." "Yeah, welcome back," Ada said. "Thank you, everybody, and especially to Wilma and Levi for having me back here. It makes me feel like you people really care about me." "Of course we do," Mom said. "Everyone knows that." "It was so hard where I was. I'll work hard here, but I was so unhappy there." Fairfax cleared his throat. "It was hard when I was there, milking the cows. I had to be up in all kinds of weather to milk the cows at 3 in the morning. Didn't matter if it was snowing or a hurricane was threatening. Those cows had to be milked. They'd bellow if they needed milking if we happened to be a bit late." "I don't know how you stayed, Fairfax." Crystal batted her eyelashes rapidly. He shrugged his shoulders. "Because I didn't know leaving was an option. I thought the bishop put you somewhere and that was where you stayed." Crystal locked eyes with Fairfax, and then she smiled. "I don't know. Maybe he bent the rules. The rules aren't written down anyway. They're implied. That's what I learned in the instructions." Hope was still annoyed. It wasn't right bending the rules. If Fairfax had to stay at the miller's place, Crystal should have stayed. And besides that, she didn't like the way Crystal was making eyes at Fairfax just then. "So many changes all the time," Christina said. "Until I found out I was having a baby, my days were all the same. But here at the orchard, nothing is ever the same. It changes from week to week." "Day to day, more like it," Samuel said. Ada bumped her husband with her elbow. "Wilma is still upset with you for encouraging Levi to buy that horse." "It's okay, Ada. I'm past that now. Levi insists we need another one, and I'm okay with it." Samuel leaned over a little to speak to Wilma, who was on the other side of the table. "I wouldn't say I encouraged him." Matthew raised his hand. "Guilty as charged. It was me who did the encouraging. I held up his hand so he could make a bid." Ada shook her head. "You should know better." "Maybe I wasn't raised right." A giggle escaped from Cherish's lips. That's the kind of thing she would have said. When everyone looked at her, she coughed. Ada took her eyes off Cherish and stared at her nephew. "Do you want me to tell Jessie what you just said?" "I don't think you should tell Ma anything I say." "She'd be horrified." "Exactly why you shouldn't tell her. We wouldn't want her to be horrified." Matthew placed his elbows on the table. "Anyway, how did this turn around to being my fault?" Wilma laughed. "Because you just said you held up Levi's hand at the auction." "Oh, yeah." Ada's bottom jaw jutted out as she spoke to Matthew. "Jessie warned me about you. She said you speak first and think later." Levi moved uncomfortably in his seat. "Let's change the subject, shall we? How's the saddlery business doing, Mark?" "Wonderbar. We're thinking of putting on another staff member part-time." Cherish's hand shot up into the air. "I bags the job." Wilma's face contorted. "You bags the job? What are you talking about? Sometimes I think you're speaking a foreign language." Ada stretched over and patted Wilma's hand. "It's probably something she heard at the coffee shop, Wilma." "What does it mean, Cherish?" "It means I'll take the job." Mark opened his mouth, but no words came out. Isaac, his brother-in-law and employee, said, "We were thinking of giving the job to a man. I'm sorry, Cherish." Cherish huffed. "I can lift things as well as any man. I'm quite strong. I can lift hay bales off the wagon. I'd work for free, too." "Yes, she is strong," Vanilla said. "I've seen her lift things." Levi said. You work here and have your one day at the cafe. Have you forgotten that already? Christina agreed with everyone else. It's not that you wouldn't be suitable or that you wouldn't be able to lift things. It's just that you're always saying you're going to your farm when you're a little older. Mark is looking for someone permanent who will then work full-time when the place expands. Isn't that right, Mark? Exactly. Sorry, Cherish. I'm sure you would have been an asset. You'd certainly liven the place up. Cherish slumped in her chair. It would have been fun to work with her older half-brother. She barely saw anything of him nowadays. Speaking of your job in the cafe, Cherish, did you ask your boss about giving Crystal some work when she's ready? Ada asked. I haven't yet, but I will. Crystal waved a hand in the air as though dismissing Ada's idea. Oh, no, I've got a better idea than that. I've got a few ideas that I think will help the women in the community. What's that? Ada asked. I can't say just yet. I haven't fully thought the idea through, and it'll all depend on the bishop. Give us a hint, would you? Christina asked. Favor sat next to her and bumped shoulders with her. Yeah, do give us a hint, Crystal. You haven't mentioned any of this to me. Crystal tilted her face upward and looked around the table at everyone. Okay, I'm good with technology, right? Ada shrugged her shoulders. If you say so. I am. So I'm thinking I can help everyone in the community get their goods online. I know the bishop allows someone with the business to have electricity, but not in their homes. So they could use a computer somewhere else, and they could fill their orders online and post the goods off. Hope asked, That sounds good, but how would this be a job for you? That's the part I haven't figured out yet. Not fully. Maybe I'll create websites for them and control them. And I'll tell them who's bought what so they can fulfill the orders. I could teach them how to do it themselves. I like that you're trying to help others, said Samuel. Crystal smiled. Thank you. I'm embarrassed about how I came to be here the first time, and I'm happy you've all forgiven me. Mom took another slice of bread from the middle of the table. Stay as long as you want. Hope was a little surprised at her mother. Although Mom always seemed to have a soft spot for Crystal, when Mom had thought Crystal was Caroline. I'll find somewhere else as soon as my time's up. The bishop said I only have 3 more weeks. Then I'll need a job and I'll find somewhere else to stay. Ada looked up from slurping her soup from her spoon. Has it been as easy as you thought it would be? I think it would have been easier if I'd been sent somewhere else to start off with. The dairy work is far too hard and a bit smelly. Not at all like it was here. If the bishop had allowed me to stay here in the first place, I wouldn't have had a problem. Maybe he needs to look at how he's doing things. I'm sure he could run things more efficiently. Everyone stopped eating, and a wave of silence swept over the room. What? Did I say something wrong? Samuel said. I wouldn't suggest you say any of that to the bishop. Or anyone else. You shouldn't talk about the bishop at all. Levi added. Not at all, Ada trembled before she slurped the last of her soup from the spoon. Okay, it was just a suggestion. If people don't want to be more efficient, then that's up to them. I'll keep quiet. Good, said Cherish. I'll zip my lips. Yeah, you should, because the bishop knows what he's doing. You're new here. Don't go making waves, Mom warned her. I think the other thing you said was a good idea. See if you can help people by doing that. Thanks, Wilma. I'll keep thinking about it. I just know if we got a lot of Amish quilts online, they'd sell so well. They're so pretty and colorful. Hope was trying her best not to be annoyed by Crystal and the way she was dominating the conversation. And it was awful how she was thinking of giving the bishop advice. Chapter 14. After everyone went home, the girls did the washing up and cleaned the kitchen, and then they headed outside. Levi and Mom stayed in the living room. Crystal leaned against the barn, pulled a cigarette and a lighter out of the inside of her apron, and lit up. I shouldn't be around smoke, Debbie said. I'm sorry, Debbie. I didn't think. You're all right if you stand where you are. The breeze is blowing the smoke the other way. Or you could put it out, Cherish said.
didn't you say you were giving them up? I gave them up. I quit 3 times when I was at the miller's. It's not as easy as you think. You just don't buy them, Hope said. It's simple. If you don't have them, you can't smoke them. Favor put her arm around Crystal. Stop picking on her, Bliss said. We're trying to help her. She's trying to give them up, and we're just giving her suggestions. Crystal blew some smoke into the air. So, what's new with everyone? Who's got boyfriends and who hasn't? Hope, are you still with Fairfax? Cherish frowned at Crystal. Yeah, that's why he was here for the meal. Oh, and what about... And we're still getting married, Hope told Crystal. I didn't mean to upset you so much. Crystal took another puff. Cherish had to stand up for her sisters. She's not upset. She's just telling you that she's getting married. So he's not a boyfriend, he's a fiancé. What about you? What's going on with Eddie, Eddie? Nothing. Nothing at all. He's an Englisher, as you know. Yeah, but who did you go running to when you were upset? Crystal laughed. He's a friend, and now I'm friends with his parents, too. They were upset with me for lying about who I was and all that, but now they understand everything I've been through. Favor said, Debbie has a boyfriend. He's Peter White. Yes, I know Peter. I met him here before, and then I saw him at the meetings. He seems nice. So, what's happening there, Debbie? I'm not sure. Oh, why's that? We're taking things slowly. You're not getting married before the baby comes? No, that would be way too quick. What? Cherish didn't trust Crystal one bit. Crystal smirked and said to Debbie, I just thought you'd feel funny not having a father for the baby. Cherish placed her hands on her hips. The baby had a father. I know, don't get upset with me. I'm just saying the way I see things. Hasty marriages aren't good. I rushed into things with John only to discover I didn't really know him. I don't know how things would have gone between us if things had gone in a different direction. Now I see that he wasn't really thinking of me and my feelings. Hope added, What she means is she wants a man who will put her first. Favor put both hands over her heart and closed her eyes. I want a man who'll cherish me. Don't you just love that word? Yeah, well, it's my name, Cherish said. I've gotten used to it. Everyone laughed. Everyone except Favor. I'm not talking about the word as a name. I'm talking about the word as an action. If a man cherishes you, well, to me, it's a stronger word than love. What about you, Bliss? Crystal asked. I see you're still with Adam. Yeah, that's right. Will we be hearing any news soon? News of another wedding? No, I don't think so. Not too soon. He wants to get set up first. Wants to have something behind him. That's what he keeps saying. Crystal threw her cigarette down and ground it into the ground with the toe of her boot. Is that so? Things not so rosy in your garden of love, eh? Things are fine, Bliss smiled. Not that fine if you haven't talked of marriage this whole time you've been together. Sounds to me like some weeds have sprouted in that garden. Maybe Adam has doubts, and doubts are like weeds. They'll end up choking you. She put her hand to her throat and made gagging sounds. Everyone except Bliss laughed at Crystal. Even Cherish laughed at Crystal's antics, even though she didn't want to. Bliss folded her arms. I didn't say we hadn't talked about it. Crystal straightened up and stared at her. So you have? That's right. Favor pouted. You didn't tell us you talked to him about a marriage, Bliss. There's nothing to tell. So what did he say when you talked about it? Crystal asked. Bliss looked down. He said something like we're heading in that direction. Direction? Yeah, the marriage direction. He's so thoughtful, he just wanted to let me know that's where we are heading. So you're engaged to be engaged? Bliss gave a nervous laugh. I don't know if you'd call it that. Crystal wouldn't give up on drilling Bliss for answers. You're heading in the direction of being engaged to be engaged? She doesn't have to answer that, Hope said. Oh, I didn't know you were the boss of questions now. Things have changed since I've been gone. Nothing's changed, Hope said.
Some things just can't be described with words, and I'm sure Bliss feels a bit awkward right now. She doesn't have to explain anything to us. Yeah, it's a little difficult, Bliss said, looking around at everyone. Hey, I'm just trying to have a conversation and find out what's been going on. She pulled out another cigarette and lit it. With friends like these, no wonder I can't give up the ciggies. We've started the quilt since you've been gone, Favor said. And you know all my news. Yeah, that didn't take long to catch up with. Nothing ever happens in your life, Favor. Favor put her head on Crystal's shoulder. I'm just glad you're back. So, what's really happening now between you and Eddie? Cherish thought Crystal deserved to be asked a question or two. Nothing. I already told you. You know nothing can happen with me and him because he's an Englisher. Well, so are you, for the moment. Not for long. Oh, I just thought you guys might like each other again because you went to his place. No, we're just friends. I think his mother likes me better now that she knows me a little better. I'm just glad you're back and back for good, Favor said. Don't worry, Cherish. I'll be out of this house as soon as I can. Everyone looked at Cherish and she felt bad. It doesn't worry me. I'm just pleased that Favor's so happy. Perhaps we could move out together, Favor, Crystal suggested. No, I'm too young and I don't want to leave Mom. I'll visit you. I hope you'll all visit me. Yeah, we will, Hope said. Crystal threw the remainder of her cigarette on the ground. Then she pulled the lighter and another cigarette out of her apron. I am giving up. I did give up for a few weeks until things got too stressful. No one's judging you, Bliss told her. It's just good to be back here. Crystal put the end of the cigarette in her mouth and lit the other end. It was the third one in as many minutes. What was it like at the Millers? Hope asked. It was okay for the most part, until they tried to make me milk the cows. Danny, one of the workers, moved away, and they tried to get me to fill his spot until they found someone else. They said it wouldn't be for long, but even one day was too long for me. We had a cow once. Only one, Hope said. I vaguely remember that, Cherish said. Debbie, tell me about Peter White. There's not much to tell. He's trying to find work at the moment. Do you like him? Of course I do. How much? That's what we're trying to figure out. Let me know if you decide he's not for you. He and I have a lot in common. Cherish turned around. I'm going inside to work on the quilt. I'll go with you. As Hope and Cherish walked to the house, Cherish whispered, She hasn't changed. She's trying to steal all our men. I can't believe she'd come right out and say that to Debbie. She has no tact, no manners, and we're stuck with her for another 3 weeks, that's all. And then I hope she finds somewhere else to stay. She'll need a paying job. I'll ask at the cafe. They have 2 now, so I'll just have to hope she's either working at the other cafe or not working at the same time as I am. That is, if she gets the job. Are they looking for someone? Hope stepped onto the porch. I think so. They're always looking for casual workers. Ask when the 3 weeks gets closer. I will. Both girls walked into the house. Cherish went to close the door and saw Debbie was nearly at the house, so she held the door open for her. Chapter 15. The next day in the orchard, Matthew noticed Cherish and Fenella were back working in the orchard close together. Hey, are you two allowed to work together today? Cherish turned around and stared at him. She didn't need someone else to boss her about. Yeah, Florence didn't say we couldn't. He laughed. You're playing with fire. I'll just make sure I stick by the 2 of you, in case she gets angry again. I don't get it, Fenella said. Cherish told her. He's got a crush on Florence, which is wrong for so many reasons. Fenella laughed. Yeah, she's twice your age, Matthew, and she's married, and she's an Englisher. Matthew laughed. I never said I had a crush. I just said I like angry women, and that she had great eyes. Cherish ignored him and kept picking apples. How could you like an angry woman? That's so unpleasant. So, you'd marry a cranky woman and have her yelling at you every day? Maybe. Are your brothers the same as you? Nope. I'm original, one of a kind. Cherish said over her shoulder, "I could think of a few other descriptions. Just don't forget what the red containers are for." He started picking the apples off a nearby tree. Fenella wasn't ready to let the subject go. "So, would you like a girl who was calm?" "Don't know. Haven't thought it through." "Why? Is one of you offering?" Cherish rolled her eyes. "No, we're not." Then Cherish had to wonder if Fenella liked Matthew. They'd never talked about him, so she didn't know. Matthew wasn't right for her. She had to change the subject. "Hey, I've got a question that's been puzzling me for some time." "Yeah? What's that?" "I'm not much good at puzzles," Matthew replied. "Bliss and Debbie are cousins, right?" "Yes, so what?" Fenella said. "I know they don't get along, never have. The question is, why? Debbie is nice, and so is Bliss. So I can't even imagine that one of them has done something awful to the other. They didn't see each other much when they were growing up. So what do you think happened between them?" "That's simple," Matthew said. Cherish turned around and looked at him. "It is?" "Yes, just ask them." Cherish grunted. He had the same stupid answer as Malachi had. "I have, and they both say nothing's wrong, but obviously there is, and they're both not saying. It's driving me nuts." "So that's what made you nuts. I had been wondering." Matthew laughed. Cherish threw an apple at him, and it landed on his head and knocked his hat off. "Hey!" he yelled as he leaned over to retrieve his hat. Fenella and Cherish laughed at him. Then Cherish spotted Florence in the distance, staring at them. When Florence walked away without getting angry at them, Cherish felt dreadful. She got down from her ladder and ran after her. She didn't even answer Fenella and Matthew when they asked where she was going. "Wait up, Florence." Florence spun around and waited until she caught up. "I'm sorry, we were just—" "I know, you were having fun." "I'm sorry about throwing that apple. I'll eat it myself so it won't go to waste." Florence put her fingertips to her forehead. "It's not about that, Cherish." "What's the matter?" "I'm tired of everything. I've talked to Carter, and we're going to put a manager in to manage the Baker apple orchard." "Oh, shouldn't we all vote about that?" "Probably. I'm going to come over this evening to talk with Levi and Wilma. I can't do it all any longer." "How will it work?" "Keep this to yourself for the moment. Carter and I will pay for the manager, and he will manage our orchard, Carter's and mine, and Fairfax's parents' old place, and this one. That's how we'll make it work. I will oversee the manager." "Sounds like a great idea." "I hope Wilma and Levi will see it that way. The Baker apple orchard won't have to pay for it, so I hope everyone will be okay with it." "I'm sure they will, and I'm sorry if I caused you any stress." Florence smiled. "It's not you. It was just everything that I've got going on at the moment." "Can I help in any way?" "You already helped by pushing me to the brink, to where I knew something would have to change." "You're welcome." Florence laughed. "Who will be the new manager?" Cherish asked. "I've got a couple of people in mind." "Fairfax?" "I can't say anything at the moment." "Aw, that would be great. A promotion for him just before Hope and he get married? And maybe they'd live in the big house instead of the cottage." "You're getting way ahead of yourself, Cherish." "Who then?" "I was thinking about Malachi from your farm." Cherish's mouth fell open. "Malachi? Then who would look after my farm?" "Just kidding. I wasn't thinking of Malachi at all. I said I can't say anything right now. I'll see you tonight. I've just told Wilma to be expecting me." Florence walked away. Cherish stared after her. Even Florence was able to fool her. Florence never joked, ever. It was a sign that she had to get back at the person who fooled her most, and that was Ada. Cherish walked back to the others, thinking about what joke she could play on Ada. Chapter 16. During the evening meal, Favor asked, "What time is Florence going to be here?" "She didn't give us an exact time," Mom said. "What's it about?" asked Hope. "About the orchard. That's all she said." "Oh no, someone's in trouble," said Bliss. "Who's done something wrong?" Bliss looked around at everyone. The guests tonight were Fairfax, Adam, Fenella, Ada, Samuel and Matthew. Debbie said, "She might be coming here to say how well everyone is doing with their work in the orchard. Maybe this is the best harvest ever." Mom shook her head.
Nay, she expects everyone to do their best. She wouldn't come here to comment on that. She wants to change something, I'm sure of it. She had that determined look in her eyes.
And she does have such nice eyes,
Matthew said. Cherish had to cover for him.
That's right, she does. I've often wished mine were that color. I was telling Matthew earlier today.
Ada leaned across the table.
Be happy with what God gave you.
I wonder how he decides how he's going to make people look. I've never thought about that before. Some people are tall, others short.
It's to do with genes, Cherish, Crystal said smugly.
Yeah, but he set the genes in place. How did he decide?
You'll never know the mind of God, Cherish, Samuel told her.
There has to be an answer, though, and we just don't know it.
Hope rolled her eyes.
I doubt he'd even think that was important. People focus too much on looks. And on eyes,
Fenella added, giving Matthew a sidelong glance. That's when Cherish knew that Fenella liked Matthew. She'd get her to admit it when they were alone.
If someone's a good person, that shines through their eyes,
Hope said.
The windows to the soul,
Crystal said. A knock sounded on the back door. Mom got to her feet.
That'll be Florence. I didn't know she'd be here this early.
Mom opened the door and led Florence through to the kitchen. Oh, everyone's still eating. Sorry.
That's okay. Would you like to join us?
Levi asked. No thanks. I've just eaten at home. I'll be quick. I've had so much going on. Too much, in fact. So I've had an idea and I just wanted to run it by you all.
What is it?
Ada asked. Cherish stood at the end of the table, in between Samuel and Levi. It's about the orchard. To lighten my load, I've been thinking of putting a manager in place for all 3 of my orchards. Carter and I will pay for the manager, and I will oversee him. Florence looked at all of them. Mom kept eating, as though she didn't have a care, and Levi was staring at her and chewing as his beard moved up and down.
Will you find this manager?
Levi finally asked. I will. I'll find exactly the right person. If no one's a good fit, I won't hire anyone. Mom looked up.
So this change won't cost us anything.
That's right.
And you'll still be involved?
Mom asked. Yes, I'll hire someone with the understanding I will be consulted with all the major decisions.
I think that sounds okay to me.
Wilma stared at Levi.
What do you think, Levi?
I think it's a good idea. What do you girls think about it? That's the important thing. You're the ones who share the ownership of the orchard.
I'll miss you, Florence, but if that's what you want to do, Favor shrugged. I'm still next door. You'll still be seeing a lot of me, just not as much as now.
I'm okay with it,
said Cherish.
I think it's a great idea.
Me too, said Hope. And I'm sure it'll be fine with Honor and Mercy.
We won't bother them with asking about it. They've got too many other things on their minds at the moment with their new babies,
Mom said.
Majority rules,
said Levi, slapping a hand down on the table. Okay, thank you. I'll get the wheels set in motion. I'll have everyone approve the person I choose.
Levi said, I don't think there's any need for that. If you're happy with him, then we'll be happy with him.
Are you sure you won't join us?
Ada asked. No, I should go.
I baked some cookies today. Take some back for you and Carter. At least do that.
Florence laughed a little. Okay, that would be nice. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your meal. Ada got up and wrapped some cookies in a freshly laundered tea towel and then handed them over to Florence. Thanks so much. I'm sure we'll enjoy these.
You will,
Cherish said.
Ada's cookies are the best.
I remember. Once Florence left, everyone was silent for a while.
That was a shock,
Mom said.
Things will be different without her around. She'll still be next door. I know, but everything always seems to be changing.
That's life, Samuel said.
Nothing stays the same for long.
Crystal said,
It sounds like it'll be a good change. I've something I can share with everyone. I've got my own change. Guess what I'm doing? And the bishops allowed me to do it. I talked to him yesterday.
Crystal looked at everyone.
Anyone want to guess?
Chapter 17.
You're writing a book about us?
Bliss asked. Cherish quickly kicked Bliss under the table.
Ow!
Bliss frowned at her while rubbing her leg.
Okay, if no one cares to guess, I'll tell you. I'm helping sell the quilts for Mrs. Lauber. In a shop?
Wilma asked.
Yes, in a real shop and an online shop. What do you all think about that? When I set my mind to something, I do it.
Online? Levi asked. And the bishop has agreed.
That's right. He said a few businesses are online, and he understands we have to make a living. As long as the computers and the internet aren't in our houses, he thinks it's okay. It's exactly what I told you about the other night. Mrs. Lauber said I could start any time I like. I said I'd probably have to finish up helping with the harvest first.
Cherish stared at Crystal. Was she only interested in quilts because they were now sewing one? What would Crystal know about quilts? Nothing. She hadn't even grown up around them.
How will you get paid? Asked Hope. From commission. I'm going to be so rich. Everyone will be coming to me for a loan. Will it be enough for you to get your own place?
Cherish asked.
Cherish, that's unkind,
Favor blurted out.
I don't think she means it like that, Favor. Do you, Cherish?
Crystal asked.
No, of course not. I'm not saying it because I don't want you here. You said yourself you were getting a place to live. I'm hoping I'll be able to rent a little place somewhere. Then I'll save up to buy one.
Or get married, Ada suggested. Mom spoke up.
Don't rush her into anything.
Ada stared at Mom. What are you talking about? I'm not rushing her. I simply suggested she get married. That's the easiest way for a woman to get a house and everything else she wants. A home and a family of her own. Cherish watched the interaction between her mother and Ada. They so rarely disagreed on things. How much computer knowledge do you have? Asked Fairfax.
I was top of my class for that kind of thing back when I was at school. We had a special computer class.
Mom said.
That sounds good. I'm glad you found something you're going to enjoy.
Crystal smiled.
Anything would be better than working with Cherish at the cafe. Thanks for recommending me anyway. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the cafe. It's fun.
Bliss pouted.
I wish I could work there.
Well, you can't, so there is no point talking about it, Levi told her. Ada grinned. You might have an entirely different job soon, mightn't she, Adam? Adam looked up, appearing awkward. We'll let you know as soon as we have any news. At the moment, we're just enjoying life and each other's company. Bliss added, and Adam's working hard on his business. I am, and saving for the future, he added. Cherish noticed Adam didn't say for our future. Did that mean he wasn't entirely sure that Bliss was right for him? It was no use thinking about him anyway, because if he broke Bliss's heart, there was no way she could have any kind of relationship with him. He made his choice between them, and he'd chosen Bliss. She'd have to forget him. But it was hard with his good looks, his tanned skin, and golden hair. Ada shook her head. Things were different in my day.
That was a long time ago,
Crystal said.
It was what we call the Dark Ages.
Crystal laughed, but no one else did. Cherish would have laughed if anyone else had said it. Ada narrowed her eyes. I don't think so. Life was different when Samuel and I were young. There was so much more farming land around. Things weren't so modernized as they are today. Everyone lived on the land and off the land. And that wasn't so long ago, Samuel said. Everything is changing. Ada added, whatever someone didn't have, they'd get from a neighbor. We all traded our goods between ourselves. Nowadays, people work all kinds of jobs. Some of us even work for Englishers now. That never would have happened in our day, would it, Samuel? Samuel shook his head. That's right.
I think change is a good thing. Adapt or fall by the wayside. Matthew, how long will you be here for?
Crystal asked. Cherish didn't like the way Crystal dominated the conversation. She even brushed right over the point Ada was trying to make. Matthew answered, I'm not sure. When Aunt Ada and Uncle Samuel get sick of me. That means he'll be leaving tomorrow, Samuel joked. Matthew laughed along with him. At least you're honest. Crystal wouldn't let up with the questions. So, have you moved here? Or would you like to? Nah, I'll go home eventually, but I'm not sure when. I guess I'll have to start thinking about it. I've had a pretty good time here. I'm enjoying the larger community. He smiled at the girls around the table. It made Cherish want to shudder, but she didn't want to be rude. Chapter 18. The next day, since the harvest was coming to an end, Cherish got her time off favor from Levi. She was allowed to take Fenella to her grandmother's house for part of the day and pick her up again in the early afternoon. Of course, she went slow to take up more time. It was peaceful to be alone in the buggy as the horse clip-clopped along the roads. On the way to pick Fenella up in the afternoon, she emptied her mind of all worries and enjoyed really seeing what she saw and paying attention to the sounds of the birds overhead. Different kinds of birds were chirping, and that was something she'd never noticed before. She only heard birds when she stopped her mind chatter and listened. Then she enjoyed all the different colors of greens in the fields she passed by. It wasn't long before her brain kicked back into gear. Ada had sprung into her mind. Not just Ada, but how to get back at Ada and Debbie. They'd fooled her twice now. If she left getting back at them for too long, they might get to fooling her 3 times in a row. Cherish pulled up at Fenella's grandmother's house and waited. Pretty soon, Fenella was out the door and climbing into the buggy. How was your day? Cherish asked. Good. We were cleaning most of the day. She said she has no one to help her, so she wants to make good use of me while I'm there. That's nice. Cherish turned the buggy around and headed back down the driveway. Fenella held her hands up. Nice? Will you look at these hands? I've already washed them, and I've still got dirt under my fingernails. I'll have to soak them. Cherish glanced at her hands. Oh, well, you can soak them when we get home. What's wrong with you? You seem to be deep in thought about something. Cherish smiled. Kind of. I've really got to find a joke to play on Ada, a really good one. Bake a fake cake. What's a fake cake? Use one of those big rectangular sponges, the ones for washing down walls. Cover it with frosting and tell Ada you baked her a cake. Give her a knife and watch while she tries to cut it. That might be okay. Anything else? Boil eggs, and then have her crack them, thinking they're fresh eggs. I don't think it'd be that funny. What about this? Have everyone sit at the table and mouth a conversation. She'll think she's gone deaf. Cherish grinned, seeing it play out in her mind. That might be okay. Or, do you know the powdered stuff you put in your drinks and it fizzes up? Yeah. We could put some in the sugar and then... Cherish shook her head. No, not something like that. I don't know. That's all I can think of. Unless you wait until Levi's asleep and then put one of those fake tattoos on his arm. Cherish laughed. That would be a bit funny, but everyone would know it was fake, and Levi might get mad. Besides, I'm trying to fool Ada with something, not Levi. Yeah, true. That's all I can think of. What did I miss while I was gone? Nothing. Just Crystal being annoying as usual. My mother wants me to come home. No, not yet. Fenella nodded. I don't want to go so soon. I feel like I only just got here. You did. She said I could come back here again. When? Soon. Very soon, I hope. Unfair. When do you have to leave? Not until next week. She's going to let me know when she's booked a car and a driver. Why don't you move here and live with your grandmother? That's what I was hoping. I'm going to suggest that when I get back home. Only thing is, I'll miss my little brother. My mother said he's been pretty upset without me. He'll manage. He's got a turtle. Cherish, do you think a turtle can take my place? I don't know, but it's a pretty nice one. So cute, too, with his little shell and everything. My grandmother wants me to go back there tonight and stay another day, since I'm leaving next week.
Unfair. I feel like I've hardly spent any time with you. I know, but I have been here for weeks. She wants me to go there early so I can eat with her again. Okay, I'll bring you back late this afternoon. Thanks. You're probably not going to miss anything. We're working on the quilt now at full speed so we can finish on time. The wedding's ages away. Ada and Mom want it out of the way so we can concentrate on the wedding. I think Hope is struggling to finish the dresses and the suits. Ada's coming tomorrow to help finish off the quilt. We're nearly there. Great. Fenella looked down at her fingernails. I know. What's even better? They only want us to work in the orchard for a few hours in the morning, and then we'll spend the rest of the day on the quilt. Even better indeed.
Chapter 19. On Sunday, Cherish was feeling off, and so was Debbie. The two of them stayed home while everyone went to the meeting. Debbie was still in bed, and Cherish poked her head through the doorway.
I'm going to make myself some toast and coffee.
No, thanks. I'll lie here for a bit longer, and then I'll try to get up.
Okay.
Cherish left her, headed downstairs, and walked into the kitchen. She picked up the carafe and was pleased there was some leftover coffee. She opened the cupboard door and saw Levi's special mug. What would it matter? No one would know. The leftover coffee was poured into Levi's horse mug. Then she put some bread under the grill and turned on the gas flame. Then she picked up the heavy mug and took a sip. The coffee tastes good from this mug.
Cherish?
Cherish got such a fright that she dropped the mug. Coffee went everywhere and the mug shattered at her feet.
I'm sorry, I was just having one little drink. I think I'm in labor.
Cherish chuckled to herself as she swooped down to pick up the pieces.
You shouldn't joke like that. Don't you see you just made me break Levi's mug? I'll have to replace it. I'm having the baby. Where did you get it from? Hopefully we can replace it before he notices. Wait, I can't do it today because they've taken both buggies. That was selfish of them. What am I thinking? It's Sunday. Mark's store wouldn't be open anyway.
She put the broken pieces in the trash and then looked over at Debbie. She was leaning over the kitchen table, almost panting with her face twisted as though she was in pain.
You need to get the midwife. Wow, you're a good actress. Very good. You should play Mary in the Christmas nativity play at the end of the year. Although, they don't show Mary's birth scene. If they did, you'd be great at it. Except you're being overly dramatic.
Cherish flipped the bread over.
Cherish!
Cherish turned around to see Debbie staring at a puddle of water on the floor. It hadn't been there a second ago.
What's that? My water's just broke. Now you've gone too far. Someone's going to have to clean that up, and it's not going to be me. Well, I might as well, because I've got to clean up the coffee. Cherish, it's no joke.
Cherish looked around for a cloth and then grabbed a dish towel. She wiped up the coffee and then headed to the water underneath Debbie. Just before she mopped it up, she saw water on Debbie's legs.
Do something, Cherish.
Cherish looked up at her.
You mean you're not joking? No, the baby is coming.
Cherish's hand went to her mouth in fright. It was Sunday. Where would the midwife be?
Oh no, Lizzie will be at the meeting. It's at Mike Yoder's place, and he doesn't have a phone anywhere near the property. Go and fetch her.
Cherish ran out to get the buggy, with Carmel following close behind. As soon as she got to the barn, she remembered again that the family had taken 2 buggies to the meeting. There was only Rhymes, the new buggy horse, and the one that was soon to be retired. She didn't want to ride the old horse, but had Rhymes ever been ridden? Cherish was about to find out. Her only hope was Rhymes. She remembered they'd had a saddle once, somewhere in the barn. She froze, wondering what to do. And then visions of her father teaching them all to ride a horse bareback flashed through her mind. She'd been too young to participate, so she'd looked on, begging her father to let her go on the horse. He relented and sat her on the horse while he was holding on to her. Not the best lesson in riding a horse she could have had, but she had to summon every ounce of courage and give it a go. With Carmel by her side, she flung open the 2 doors of the barn. The light streamed in, and she spotted the saddle in the back corner. She raced toward it and grabbed it, along with a nearby bridle. She took them both out to the paddock, and she didn't have to fetch Rhymes. He came to her. She slipped the reins over his neck in case he took off, and then fitted the bit in his mouth. The way he took that so easily, she knew he'd been ridden before. She took hold of the saddle and then realized she needed a saddle blanket. She ran back into the barn, found it where the saddle had been, and then ran back out. As she put it on the horse, he turned his head. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." Then she picked up the heavy saddle and placed it on his back. Once she got that straight, she buckled the girth. "Haven't you gone yet, Cherish?" she heard Debbie call out from the house. "I'm going in a minute, nearly there." She put her foot in the stirrup, but her foot and the entire saddle went under the horse's belly. Then she heard Debbie laughing as she tried to free herself. "You've got to do it really tight," Debbie called out. "I did. Tighter." Cherish managed to get her 2 feet back onto the ground, and she snugged the girth as tight as she could. When the same thing happened, Debbie whined, "It's not working. Maybe run to Florence's house and tell them." "That would be good, only they left last night to spend today in the city for some reason." Cherish knew she was going to have to ride bareback. She took off the saddle and led the horse to the fence, climbed up the fence, and got on his back. "What are you doing, Cherish?" "I don't need the saddle. My father showed us all how to ride." It was close to the truth, and in this situation, close enough was good enough. "You'll fall off. Just go to the nearest phone and call someone." "Where are they having the meeting today?" "At Mike Yoder's house." "Exactly. They don't have a phone, and everyone who does have one will be at the meeting. Do you want me to get the paramedics?" "No. I can smell something burning." "The toast. Turn off the stove. I'll be back with Lizzie, trust me. I know a shortcut. I'll get Mom and Ada too." Cherish started off at a trot. "Hurry, Cherish. Don't hurt yourself. Don't fall off. If you fall off, who will know to come here?" "Stay here, Carmel. Hey, Debbie, call Carmel inside and shut the door so he can't follow. Don't forget to turn off the stove." "I will." Debbie called Carmel and he went over to her. Cherish called out to Debbie, "Lie down. Put your legs up in the air to stop the baby coming. Better still, stand on your head." Debbie didn't reply. Trotting hurt too much anyway, so she cantered down the driveway. That was a little smoother. She knew it wasn't going to be easy, but she'd seen people ride bareback before. She'd even seen people go over jumps bareback. "Legs low, upper body lifted. Don't grip with your legs, keep tall." She had no idea how she suddenly remembered her father's words. If she hadn't remembered that, she would have clung with her knees. She trusted her father and tried to do everything he'd said. As the horse cantered up the road, her father's instructions came to her again. He told her older sisters to relax and move with the horse. Relax? Easier said than done, but this was the only way she could get the midwife. "Please, help me get there, God," she called out. Right after she said that, thunder rumbled in the sky. Cherish glanced upward and saw gray clouds had gathered. "Not rain, no! Why?" Large droplets of rain splattered down from the sky. It didn't take long for all her clothes to be soaked through and sticking to her skin. Cherish finally arrived at the Yoder's place, jumped off the horse, and threw the reins over the top rail of the fence. Everyone was in the house, and she could hear a man delivering a sermon. She had no choice but to interrupt. She had to do it for Debbie's sake. She ran to the house and opened the door just a crack, hoping to catch Mom's or Ada's eye. The door squeaked so loudly that everyone looked at her, even the bishop, who was standing in front of everyone. She couldn't see either Mom or Ada, so she looked for Lizzie. "Are you joining us, Cherish?" the bishop asked. "No, I'm looking for Lizzie." Lizzie stood and hurried toward her. Mom and Ada did too. Then Cherish took some quick steps backward and they closed the door of the house. "Is it Debbie?" Lizzie asked. "Yeah, her water broke, and this time it wasn't a joke." Ada narrowed her eyes. "Is this true, or are you paying us back?" Chapter 20. Cherish looked down at herself as the water dripped off her clothes onto the floor of the Yoder's porch.
It's true. I rode that horse bareback. I wouldn't ride through the rain for a joke. Let's go. We'll have to hurry.
I'm on my way. Lizzie strode toward her buggy. We'll come too, Ada said. Hope opened the creaking door and looked out.
What's going on? Hope, tell Samuel that Ada and I have gone to help with Debbie's birth.
She's having the baby now?
Yes, and tell Levi too.
Okay. Hope closed the door. I'll have to come in your buggy, Wilma, Ada said.
Yeah, let's go.
And me, Cherish said. We'll have to tie the horse to the side.
Very well, let's go.
Before they reached the buggy, Favor was running over to them, followed by Fenella.
I want to come with you. Me too,
Fenella said.
Nay, you both stay here and tell everyone what's happening. No one needs to rush home. We prefer everyone stay. Debbie's going to need quiet and time.
Is Debbie having the baby? Favor asked. Yeah.
How come Cherish gets to go?
Favor asked.
Hey, I rode bareback to get here. Through the rain.
Cherish sneezed. Let's just hurry, Ada said, pulling Cherish along by her sleeve. Favor asked, What about Levi?
He'll come back home later with Samuel. He'll guess what's happening.
They clipped the lead of the horse to the buggy, and even though she was in damp clothes, Cherish was pleased to ride home in the comfort of a buggy. By this time, she was sore, and with each passing moment, she got sorer.
How did you ride the horse?
Mom asked.
I just did it. I'm not sure. I'll be paying for it more tomorrow, I'm guessing. Dad showed us how to ride when I was little. I just recalled what I heard him telling us.
Cherish sneezed again.
I told him not to encourage that behavior. When I grew up, we were never allowed to ride horseback.
How was Debbie? Ada asked.
I think she's a little bit scared. I don't blame her. It's so hard with the first one. You don't know what to expect. I said she should stand on her head.
What? Ada screeched.
Why? Gravity will keep the baby inside.
Ada looked over at Wilma. What are you teaching her?
Don't blame me. I didn't tell her anything like that.
Just as well Debbie has enough sense not to listen to you. She could do all kinds of damage if she did something like that. Chapter 21. They arrived home just after Lizzie. They could see Debbie and Lizzie talking in the doorway.
Has she had it yet?
Cherish asked.
Is she still fat?
I don't think she's had it yet. She wouldn't be standing there to greet us if she had. And let's hope she didn't try standing on her head. Ada shook her head as she pulled up the buggy.
I was just trying to help.
Yeah, you're always trying. You're very trying at times.
Most of the time,
Wilma added as they all got out of the buggy. Cherish sneezed again.
You better get changed into some dry clothes,
Mom told her. Yeah, we don't need you getting sick and someone having to wait on you hand and foot, delivering hot soup to you. Cherish liked the idea of staying in her warm bed while people brought her soup and fussed over her. Minutes later, the midwife examined Debbie right there in the living room. Ada and Wilma stayed close by while Cherish climbed the stairs so she could change out of her wet clothes. She found Carmel on her bed. He slowly opened his eyes.
There you are. Good boy for staying home. At least you got to stay dry.
She stripped off her wet clothes and pulled on dry ones. Then she pulled off her prayer cap and tossed it on the pile of wet clothes. She'd need a towel to dry off her hair. Carrying her wet clothes, she walked downstairs to head to the laundry room. Where's she having the baby? Ada whispered to Mom.
We haven't talked about it.
Well, you'd better get her upstairs while she can walk up them. Everyone will be coming home later. Debbie won't want men around.
Good idea.
Ada and Wilma turned to look at Cherish. Where's your cap? Ada asked.
I need to dry my hair before I put another one on.
Ada shook her head. A woman should have her hair covered at all times.
I know, and I will. I need to dry my hair.
Cherish sneezed again.
Or I'll be laid up in bed while people bring me hot soup.
You shouldn't have mentioned that, Ada.
That's what she'll be hoping for, Mom laughed. As Cherish headed to fetch a towel, she heard the midwife tell them she suspected the birth was still some hours away. Cherish tossed her wet clothes onto the laundry pile. Then she picked up a towel and dried off her hair. Once she had grabbed another dry towel and wrapped it around her head like a turban, she walked into the living room. Ada did a double take when she saw her. I said keep your head covered. I didn't mean like that. Mom laughed. You look ridiculous.
At least it'll help my hair dry faster.
Then all the attention was on Debbie. It's best to have the baby in your bedroom, Debbie, Ada told her.
Okay, I agree. That's best.
The midwife helped Debbie sit up, and then they all moved upstairs to the bedroom. With the towel wrapped around her head, Cherish went outside to unhitch the buggy and let Rhymes loose in the paddock. She could barely walk from the ordeal, and Debbie wasn't even close to giving birth. She didn't need to ride all that way to fetch anyone. Now she'd probably get a bad cold, as well as her legs, groin, and every muscle in her body aching.
All that for nothing, she told Rhymes while patting his neck. Thanks for being such a good boy. You could have bucked or anything, but you did your best to keep me on your back. You're now, officially, my favorite horse. I'll bring you back a carrot. Carrots all round,
she called out to all the horses. As she walked back to the house to get some carrots, she thought about the new baby that was coming. If Bliss was her stepsister, then maybe Debbie's baby would be her step-cousin. Or would that make the baby a second step-cousin? Or a step-cousin once removed? It was all too confusing, and now she was starting to think like Mom, which was never a good thing. Once in the kitchen, she selected some of the smaller carrots and headed back to the horses. When she was halfway there, she saw Florence hurrying out of the orchard. What's going on, Cherish?
Debbie's having the baby right now. Well, later. The midwife's here. How did you know something was going on?
Carter and I got back earlier than we expected. He was looking at the security footage from the cameras.
Wait, you have cameras?
Yes, for security. And he saw you galloping away from here.
That's true, I did. Debbie and I were home alone, and everyone else was at the meeting. Both buggies were gone, and I only had Levi's new horse, Rhymes, to go for help. Come and take a look at him.
As they walked, Florence asked, Is Debbie okay?
She's fine. She could be hours away, the midwife said.
And how are you? Cherish looked down.
Oh, you mean because I'm walking funny?
Yes, and that thing on your head.
Oh!
She touched the towel lightly with her fingers.
It's just a towel. It rained on me while I was going for help. It wasn't easy to ride bareback. I couldn't get the silly saddle tied up tight enough. It kept slipping.
They went to the fence, and when the horses saw Cherish had carrots, they walked over to her. So that's the new one?
Yeah, and you should have seen how Mom reacted.
Cherish gave each one a carrot and a rub between the ears. She liked him?
Nay, she was angry with Levi for buying the horse, and he had to explain why we needed him.
And did you?
Did I what?
Did you like the horse?
I guess so.
Cherish turned around and leaned against the fence.
So you're really going to let someone else manage this place?
I figure it's about time. I've been doing the work of 3 people. I'd like to do the work of 1 person for a change.
I'm sorry about the other day when I was rude to you in the orchard.
It wasn't good, but it made me realize that I'm not having fun anymore. And why have a good life if you don't enjoy it? It's time for me to slow down and fully appreciate what I have. Lately, I feel my life is just a treadmill.
That's what I've always thought.
I've got a wonderful family, and I want more time to enjoy them. I want to be just a mom for a little while.
I can understand that. I think. Your new house is coming along. I watch it rising further from the ground every time I drive past.
I know. I wonder if it'll be ahead of schedule. They say it won't because Carter keeps making changes. They aren't big changes, but even little ones take time. He wants this new place to be just so.
Yeah, well, he's got enough money to have whatever he wants and to give you whatever you want. I wonder if I'll get a rich husband.
Florence laughed. I wasn't looking for one. I didn't even know he had any money.
He finally won you over. How romantic. I know you're wondering if there's anyone I've got my eyes on at the moment. Well, the answer is no.
I wasn't thinking that at all. I was thinking about the orchard.
I figure I'll know when I meet him.
You probably will. That's how it was with Carter. There was just something about him. Something that was tantalizing, like he was always a little out of reach.
That's because he was keeping things from you, and because he was an Englisher.
I know, but still, there was chemistry.
Describe that to me, would you? People talk about that all the time, and I don't know what it is, so I can't join in those conversations.
It's something you can't see. You can only feel. It's like a spark.
I get that. I had that with Adam until Bliss stole him from me.
You'll feel it again.
I hope so.
You've got plenty of time to worry about that. When they heard a scream, both Florence and Cherish jumped and then looked at each other.
That sounds like Mom,
Cherish said. They ran to go into the house. Chapter 22. Before they got there, Ada opened the door with Bliss's rabbit cotton ball under her arm. This thing came running out and scared everyone.
It's unhygienic,
Mom yelled from somewhere within the house.
Give him here.
Cherish took him from Ada.
I'll put him in his outdoor pen until Bliss comes home.
Hello, Florence, Ada said. Hi, is Debbie okay? Contractions are stronger, going by her face and her groaning. Are you coming in? I won't stay. Florence turned away from Ada and hurried over to catch up with Cherish. Cherish put Cotton Ball in the enclosure and locked the door.
Mom still hates Cotton Ball, as you just saw.
She was never fond of having animals in the home.
Yeah, and she hates rabbits so much. They're her least favorite animal. Her second least favorite are birds. Well, maybe just Timmy.
Florence smiled. I know, and I guess she feels she has to allow Bliss to have the rabbit because you have Carmel. She only agreed to have Carmel in the house because she didn't know he'd grow up to be so big.
What are you going to do with all your free time, Florence?
I just told you. Weren't you listening? Cherish bit her lip. She hadn't been listening. I'll be a wife and a mother for a while. I'll still oversee everything, so I won't be sitting around with nothing to do.
That's good, because I don't like changes. I've had too many changes.
Some changes are good.
Yeah, they're the only ones I like.
I should go. Carter's waiting to hear if everything's okay.
It's all fine. I'll let you know when she's had the baby.
Please do. Just as Florence was walking away, they both heard the cry of a baby. They stared at each other. Then Cherish looked up at the end bedroom window where the noise was coming from.
That was fast.
Cherish leapt at Florence and grabbed her hand.
Come on, let's take a look. We'll be some of the first people to see her. Or him.
Cherish ran toward the house, and then when she opened the door, she turned around to Florence.
Why are you just standing there? Come on.
Florence shook her head. I don't know Debbie that well.
Yes, you do.
Florence shrugged. Not really. You go. I'll come over in a day or two to see Debbie and the baby. Cherish grabbed her arm.
No, you must come and see if it's a boy or a girl. Come on, it's so exciting, you must come.
Florence laughed. Okay, I'll stay downstairs. Cherish burst into the house and ran up the stairs, and then she caught her breath when she got to the hallway. The bedroom door was open, and she could hear voices.
Can I come in?
Cherish asked. Yes. It was Debbie's voice. She sounded good, so the birth must have gone well. Cherish got to the doorway and looked in. Debbie was cradling her baby while the midwife was folding soiled towels and putting them into a basket.
You did it, Debbie.
I did.
Boy or girl?
He's a boy, Ada told her. She looked over at Ada and Wilma, who were huddled together holding back tears. Cherish felt tears stinging behind her own eyes.
Can I see him?
Yes, come closer. Cherish inched forward and had a good look at the wrinkled red baby.
He's so cute. He's got such tiny fingers and tiny hands. Oh, look! Fingernails! Wow!
Debbie kissed the top of his head. and I get to take care of him. I actually have a child of my very own. I'm so happy for you. Can I get you something? Anything. How about something to eat? I need some more water. Thanks, Cherish. Coming up. Cherish grabbed the empty glass on the nightstand, turned, and ran down the stairs. When she saw Florence sitting on the couch, she remembered her half-sister had come into the house with her. Florence, it's a boy. He's so cute. Do you want to see him? I'll come back in a day or two. Okay. Tell Debbie I'm very happy for her, and I'll be back in a couple of days to see her. By then, she should be rested. Cherish opened the door for Florence and let her out. It seemed odd that Florence now lived somewhere else and didn't feel a part of what was going on in the household. She looked down at the glass in her hands. Water! When Cherish was back upstairs with the water, she placed the full glass on the nightstand.
This baby was in a hurry, said Lizzie. It was a fast birth for a first baby.
It didn't feel fast to me, Debbie said.
It was,
Wilma and Ada said at the same time. Mom said,
It's over now, so let's just be happy that Cherish was able to ride that horse and get help. It was a very brave thing to do.
Brave or stupid? You could have been killed, Cherish,
Ada said.
How? You could have fallen off the horse and cracked your skull open.
I didn't think of that. I was just thinking of going for help. Ada put her arm around Cherish.
I think Cherish needs something special, a reward for doing something so special.
She does. What would you like?
Mom asked.
Nothing. I don't know.
Well, what's your favorite food?
Cherish was shocked to get this much attention. She would have jumped on a horse long ago if she'd known that was the way to be noticed. I don't really have one.
Surely you must.
No, not really.
You like my chocolate cookies.
Oh, yes, I do. They'd be my favorites. Maybe you could make me a batch.
Ada smiled. I'll do better than that. I'll make you a gingerbread house.
Cherish swallowed hard. That was the very worst thing in the world. Ada was a self-confessed failure at making them, and the very word brought to mind Annie Wiley. Cherish managed to smile. Ada meant well. Thank you. I'd really love that, but only if you have the time. Cookies will be fine, really, and they're a lot less trouble. You got so upset last time you tried to make one.
You deserve for me to try to make a gingerbread house again. As soon as we finish this quilt, I'll start on it immediately.
You don't have to. I know you gave up on making them.
For you, I'll try it again, but I might have to borrow that book back from you.
Sure, Cherish frowned. She'd lost track of that book. Hadn't she already loaned it to Ada? Mom said,
I'll make a special dinner for you on Wednesday night, too, Cherish.
Hey, I'm the one who pushed out the baby. Everyone stared at Debbie. Then Debbie smiled. I'm just kidding. They all relaxed and Mom laughed.
For a minute there, I thought I'd have to be careful around you. I thought you were getting like Joy, feeling left out all the time.
No, I'm too tired for that, Debbie answered. Ada looked up at the ceiling, deep in thought.
It's not just Joy. Favor feels left out too. Or was it Hope who said that? I can't recall now.
The point I'd like to make is that it's not good to fool people all the time, because when an emergency comes, the person who's been fooled will think it's another practical joke.
Ada laughed. You sound like an old lady, Cherish, not a young girl. Relax a little, will you?
Will you? Cherish snapped back.
Mom frowned at Cherish.
No need to be cheeky, especially when Ada's making you a gingerbread house.
I'm sorry, Ada.
I know you didn't mean it,
Ada said.
Perhaps she can think about what she said in her room.
Mom glared at her. Cherish put her finger up to her lips to make them be quiet. Not in front of the baby. Everyone has to be quiet and calm, don't they, Debbie? Absolutely. I'm not up to listening to all this.
We'll leave you alone to have some rest now, Debbie.
Wilma leaned forward and kissed Debbie on her forehead.
You've done a wonderbar job in bringing this child into the world.
You have, Debbie. And thank you, too,
Ada said to the midwife before they left the room. Ada and Wilma went downstairs, and Cherish went to her bedroom. She closed the bedroom door behind her and sank onto the bed. It was so exciting to have a new baby in the house, and it was even more so that she was the first out of all her sisters to see him. Pretty soon her thoughts turned to Ada. She still hadn't paid her back for those jokes. What could she do? Now, it was more important than ever that she give Ada and Mom a taste of their own medicine. Particularly Ada. She couldn't play a joke on Debbie because she'd just had the baby. Chapter 23. On Tuesday, Cherish was more than ready to spend the day at the cafe. It was sad, though, that Fenella was going home soon. She burst through the door and told her coworkers that Debbie had a baby boy. They all seemed pleased, and Marley said she'd make up a box of goodies for her to take back to Debbie. As she was topping up someone's coffee out of a carafe, the last person she thought she'd see was her lawyer friend. She hadn't seen him for ages.
Travis Johnson, what are you doing here?
He smiled as he sat down. Hoping to have a bite to eat. Is that against the law? She laughed.
Well, you know about that. It's just that you don't often come to this side of town.
He chuckled. It's only a small town. One side is as big as the other.
How have you been?
Cherish couldn't help noticing how good he looked, as always. His hair was neat and short, and he looked so professional in his dark navy suit and crisp white shirt. And his black shoes were highly polished. Great. I went to your shop to buy some things, and I didn't see you there.
At my house?
Yes, the shop in front of your house.
You should have asked for me. I wouldn't have been too far away. Did you get what you wanted?
I got a couple of apple strudels and a few other things while I was there. He picked up a menu. He was so good-looking he made her nervous. She looked over her shoulder, and when she saw Marley was in the back room, she sat down with him.
Are you eating by yourself, or are you meeting someone here?
I've got court in an hour. I'm just grabbing a quick bite to eat. Cherish moved closer and whispered.
You didn't hear it from me, but don't touch the egg salad sandwiches. They're using some kind of weird mayonnaise.
He set the menu down. Thanks for the heads up. What do you recommend?
The hamburger or the grilled cheese.
I might go with the grilled cheese and a cup of coffee. Can you join me?
I can't. I'm working.
When do you get your next break? She grimaced.
I've had one already. Did you want to talk with me about something?
Nothing in particular. I just thought since you were here, and I'm here, you might be able to sit down and talk with me.
I'm sorry. I'll put your order in.
Thanks, Cherish. Cherish wrote his order down and pinned it up for the kitchen staff. Janie looked over and hissed.
Who's that?
Just a lawyer.
You know him?
I do.
What have you done?
Nothing.
Well, how do you know him?
Cherish frowned at her.
Just make the coffee, Janie.
When 2 more tables filled up, Cherish went to take their orders. All the while, she could feel the lawyer watching her. She dismissed the thought that he might like her. He was too handsome, and he was an Englisher. What would he see in her when he could have the pick of women? No, he wanted something. That was why he was there. He wanted something, and he didn't know how to ask for it. When his order was ready, she placed it down and then pulled out a chair.
Okay, I know you being here isn't a coincidence. So why are you here?
He grinned as he picked up his coffee and took a sip. Nothing. I had time to kill before court, and I was hungry.
Oh, well, it's nice to see you again.
How's everything working out for you?
Oh, you mean those letters you wrote for me? Everything's great now. I haven't heard from that reporter. As far as I know, he's selling real estate in New York City, and that's all. And Crystal is not proceeding with that book.
I'm glad things are still going well.
They are.
How is your family?
They're great. We've nearly finished the apple harvest, and it was better than last year and the year before, which was terrible. Now my older sister is back in charge, and I'm sure it will keep getting better every year.
That is good news. He drained his coffee, then looked at his watch. I should go.
But you haven't even finished your food.
No time. Thanks, Cherish. I'll see you again. He stood. "Yes, you will," she said as she stood too. He gave her a smile, then turned and walked out the door. She sat down. It seemed as though he'd come there to say something, yet he didn't say anything. The whole thing was odd. When more customers came through the door, she sprang to her feet and started clearing the table. When she lifted his plate, she saw a $50 bill, a huge tip. She folded it, tucked it into her sleeve, and continued clearing the table. Chapter 24. Just as Cherish was finishing up her shift at the cafe, she had another visitor come to the cafe. It was Peter White. She waved to him and he sat down. Since it was the end of her shift, she grabbed her things and walked over to him. "Hi, Peter." "Hi, Cherish. Are you leaving?" "Yes, my shift is over, and Hope will be here soon to drive me home." "Can you sit for a moment?" "Sure." She sat down, and then he asked, "How's Debbie?" "She's wonderful, and the baby is just delightful. When are you coming to see them?" He pressed his lips together. "I'm not sure." "She'd love to see you. Come any time." His face lit up. "You don't think she'd mind?" "Of course not." "She never said I could come see her when the baby was born. We're only seeing each other every other week. I don't want to be too forward." "You won't be. She'd love to see you. When do you think you could come?" "Tomorrow afternoon? Could you tell her I'll see her around mid-afternoon?"
"Sure. Are you having anything while you're here?"
"I guess so."
"I have to go, but I'll get you something, my treat."
"It's okay, Cherish. I have money."
"So do I, and I just got a large tip."
He laughed. "Keep it for something else." Through the large floor-to-ceiling glass, Cherish saw that Hope had arrived.
"Are you sure?"
"Quite sure."
"Hope's here. I'll go."
That evening, Debbie was feeling recovered enough to sit downstairs with everyone in the living room. Her baby was asleep in his crib upstairs.
"It's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. I told Cherish I was having contractions, and she thought it was a joke." Who could blame me? You lot are always trying to fool me. It's so unkind."
Cherish shook her head at them. Ada's eyebrows rose. "You didn't believe her, Cherish?"
"No, why would I? You already fooled me once with that joke. I thought you were trying it again."
Levi chuckled. "What happened then?"
"I had to ride through the rain when I figured out she wasn't joking and it was all real."
Then Debbie told them about Cherish trying to put the saddle on the horse, and everyone laughed again. Matthew said, "It's so funny that you thought she was joking with you, Cherish."
"That's what happens when you fool people too much. They won't believe you. It could have been a very dangerous situation if I hadn't gone for the midwife."
Ada turned to Debbie. "Now, Debbie, you can't go much longer without giving the baby a name. Paperwork will need to be filled out. Soon he'll be a 20-year-old man, and we'll still be calling him the baby." "Yeah, he wouldn't like that," Samuel said. "Exactly," Ada continued. "One name in particular comes into my mind."
"And what would that be?"
asked Wilma. Cherish laughed.
"Don't say Ada. Boys don't have that name. Maybe Aiden, that would be a made-up name. Or what about Adam? It's Ada with an M at the end."
Ada stuck her nose in the air. "I wasn't going to suggest she name the baby after me. I was thinking of John, the baby's father."
"No,"
Debbie said.
"I want my baby to have a name that is his and doesn't remind me of the past. I'll think of something soon."
"What about Peter?" Favor burst into giggles, but she was the only one laughing. Even Crystal didn't join in with her silliness.
"No, it won't be Peter."
Matthew grinned. "Matthew's a good name. My parents should have made that my first name rather than my second." Ada told Debbie, "Matthew's first name is Luke, so be careful that you give your child two names, because he might not like the first one, and he could go by the second."
"Thanks, Ada. I'll keep that in mind. There's a lot to consider. I wasn't even going to give him a middle name."
"I think Debbie will be able to come up with a name without our help. Won't you, Debbie? Or do you want us to make suggestions?" Wilma asked.
"I'd rather think of something myself. Thanks, everyone."
Debbie's gaze traveled to the quilt folded up on the table.
"Have you finished the quilt already?"
Before anyone could answer, Ada spoke. In the old days, we made our quilts from old clothing. We cut patches out of scraps.
They wouldn't have looked too good, would they? Hope asked.
They did. Some of them are now in museums.
Cherish looked up. Are you saying that the quilts you had around when you were a girl are now in museums?
Ada shook a finger at her. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that makes me a relic and that I should be in a museum too.
No, I wasn't. You're not that old. At least, that's what you and Mom keep telling me.
There's nothing wrong with being old. Age brings wisdom and humility, and also good sense.
Mom narrowed her eyes at Cherish.
Wait until you have children of your own, Cherish. Then the good Lord will teach you a thing or two. You might even get a child like yourself.
A perfect child? Yeah, that would be wonderbar.
The other girls laughed. Even Ada had a slight smile on her face. You wait and see. I'll be sitting back watching and waiting to see what your offspring is like.
Oh, Mom, do you think I've been that awful?
Yeah.
I've never given you a moment's trouble.
You're cheeky.
Only because I question you about things, and only so I'll understand.
Favor giggled.
Are you saying you're stupid, Cherish? No, I don't think I am.
Smart like a fox, Ada said. Too smart for your own good sometimes.
Danka, Ada. I do believe that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Oh, before I forget, Debbie, Peter White's coming tomorrow. I hope that's okay. I can call him if it's not. That's fine. I'd like to see him. How do you know he's coming? I saw him at the cafe. I think he came by just to ask me if it was okay to come here.
The girls laughed.
He loves you,
Favor said to Debbie. Debbie smiled.
What time's he coming?
In the afternoon. Middle of the afternoon, I guess. That's what he said.
Mom said,
Debbie, the reason the quilt is out here is because we decided as a family we'd like you to have it.
Debbie looked over at the quilt and her mouth dropped open. Chapter 25. Mom got up and placed the quilt on Debbie's lap.
And now we officially give you our very first family quilt.
Debbie sat there in shock.
Me? That's right. You love the colors, don't you?
I do. Debbie looked over at Hope. But isn't this for Hope? Hope smiled and shook her head. We all want you to have it. It's our first family quilt we've made, and each one of us agreed. Debbie stared at the quilt and gently placed her hands on it. I don't know what to say. Thank you somehow doesn't seem enough. I am honored that you do this.
But not the last, Ada said. We will make another for Hope.
So it's really for me? Are you sure?
Debbie looked around at everyone, and her gaze stopped at Hope.
We're very sure. We've all talked about it, and we'd all like you to have it.
After all, you helped me select the colors.
Thank you, everyone.
A tear came to Debbie's eyes.
I can hardly believe how God has blessed me and my baby. We have a new home and now a new quilt. You've been a blessing to us, Hope said. To all of us, hasn't she? Yeah, you have,
said Favor, and everyone else agreed.
I don't know you that well, Debbie, but I think we'll be great friends. I regret that I wasn't able to help more with the quilt. I can't sew that much, but I'm learning.
Cherish gritted her teeth over Crystal's words. It was typical of her to have so much to say about something that didn't concern her, not even a little bit. The baby let out a yell from his crib upstairs.
It's feeding time. He just slept for a long time.
Cherish carried the quilt upstairs for Debbie.
Sure.
Cherish bundled up the quilt and followed Debbie up the stairs. When they were in the room, Cherish stared at the baby while Debbie picked him up.
Funny that you had a boy and you always called him a he. I must have known.
Cherish knew she was going to feed the baby and thought it best to leave her in peace.
Where shall I put this? Just put it on the bed, could you?
Cherish spread it over the bed.
Thank you, Cherish. It's so beautiful. Everyone is so kind. I feel bad for Hope. Are you sure she doesn't mind? Don't worry about her. She wanted you to have it, and we all wanted you to know that we'd like you to feel welcome. I do. Holding the baby, Debbie sat on the chair in the corner of the room. I'll leave you to it. Thank you. I'll be down after I feed and change him. And Cherish? Yes? What do you think of the name Jared? I love it. I like names starting with J and also with D. I'm calling my baby Jared. Great choice. I'll leave you to tell everyone his name. Thanks. And a middle name? I think I'll stick with the one name. Okay. Cherish closed the door and headed back down to the others. When she got there, it was just Levi and Mom in the living room. Where is everyone? Ada, Matthew, and Samuel have gone. The others are outside as usual. That's what Crystal does. She takes you all outside so we can't hear what you're all saying. Levi didn't look up from his newspaper. Believe me, it's nothing interesting anyway. Oh, I'm so sad Fenella's time here is running out. She said she'd come back and see us soon. You don't mind if she does? Cherish asked. Nay, she was no trouble at all. She can come any time she likes. Is it okay if Fenella and I stay up and make a cake after everyone goes to bed? Just as long as you clean up all your mess and don't make too much noise. You'll need to be as quiet as a mouse. Levi put his newspaper down. You'll need to be quieter than a mouse. Mice are quite loud sometimes. Have you ever heard one, Wilma? All that scratching about and gnawing things through with their teeth. Wilma trembled. I don't think so. That sounds horrible. People just say quiet as a mouse, and so I thought they were quiet. No. Levi went back to reading his paper. I should go out and talk to the others. Please yourself, Mom said. No, wait. I'd prefer if you didn't do it tonight. I know you'll create a lot of noise giggling and carrying on, and I'm tired. Do it another night, yeah? Cherish sighed. But you will allow me and Fenella to make a cake. Alone, won't you, before she leaves? Of course, I'd be delighted. I'm delighted you're thinking of others. Or will you and she be eating the cake alone? Cherish laughed. Of course not. Then I'm happy. Danka, Mom. Cherish ran back to kiss her mother on the cheek. Then she headed out of the house. Cherish couldn't wait to get Fenella by herself to tell her the news. They'd make that cake out of a sponge before Fenella left to go home. They'd tell the girls not to touch it. Then Cherish would wait for Wilma or Ada to try to eat it. Cherish smiled just thinking about it. Chapter 26. When Peter White pulled up in his horse and buggy the next day, Wilma wanted him to have a good visit with Debbie. Debbie was upstairs changing the baby, so Wilma walked out to greet him. How are you, Peter? I'm fine, Wilma, and you? Wonderbar, and who wouldn't be on this glorious day the Lord has given us? He looked up at the sky, smiling, before he slung the lines over the hitching post. I thought you and Debbie might like to sit outside on the porch. I'll bring you out some cake. No need to go to all that bother. It's no bother at all. He reached into the buggy and pulled out a bunch of roses. Oh my, aren't they lovely? I hope Debbie will think so. Of course she will. Wilma looped her arm around his and led him to the porch. Would you prefer tea or coffee? I wouldn't mind coffee if someone else is having coffee too. I'll have coffee, but I'll have it in the kitchen so the two of you can talk alone. You sit there. She pointed to the large white chair. I'll check on Debbie and see how she is. If she's asleep, I can come back later. No, she's awake. I saw her a moment ago. I'll send her down. He grinned. Okay. Wilma hurried into the house and took the stairs as fast as she could. She walked down the hallway and opened Debbie's door without knocking. He's here. Oh, good. Give the baby to me. I'll look after him so you two can talk. No, wait. I have to make the coffee. I'm sure he'll want to see Jared. Yeah, he will. Good thinking. I'll make the coffee, and when I bring it out, I'll take the baby inside with me. Thank you, Aunt Wilma. Debbie picked Jared up and then carefully wrapped him in a shawl. It might be a little chilly outside. The two women made their way downstairs and Debbie walked outside. Peter looked up and bounded to his feet.
How are you, Debbie?
I'm really good.
And the baby?
He's perfect. See for yourself. He walked over and Debbie moved the shawl aside so he could better see Jared's face.
He's a beautiful boy. He's sleeping so peacefully.
I've only just changed his diaper and he fell asleep while I was walking down the stairs. He's been a good sleeper so far, for a newborn. I hope he keeps it up because I do like my sleep.
Sit down. He hurried over and moved the chair forward so she could get a little of the afternoon sun.
Thank you.
When they were both seated, he asked, I hope you don't mind me coming here. I know we said we'd see each other every fortnight, but I thought...
It's perfectly all right. I'm glad you came. It shows me you care.
I do. I thought you knew that.
She looked down, and at that moment Wilma came through the door with a tray. She set it down on the table between them.
Coffee for you, Peter, and water for you, Debbie. And I had these lovely cupcakes that Ada brought over yesterday. I'm surprised the girls didn't eat them all.
Thank you, Wilma.
Yes, thank you, Debbie said.
I'll take the baby if you like. Oh, he's sleeping. Then I'll put him in his crib.
That would be great.
Wilma leaned down and carefully took the baby from Debbie.
Oh, this takes me back. It's been a while since there has been a baby sleeping in this house.
Wilma rocked the baby to and fro, even though he was already asleep.
How's your coffee, Peter? Would you like cream? We have cream.
I like it just like this. He took another sip.
Do you like cake?
I sure do. I could eat a whole one by myself.
He looked at the cupcakes.
A whole plate of them, I meant.
Wilma stood there looking at the both of them as though she wanted to say something. Then she walked away.
She must be a big help to you,
Peter said. Everyone's been helpful. I couldn't be in a better place.
Is it that good?
Debbie nodded. It is. They're making a big effort to make me feel at home. I mean, I know it's not my home, not really, but it's my home for now.
He took another mouthful of coffee. I know what you mean. I guess they're used to having a full house around here.
They had 9 children in the house, they keep telling me.
I know. I remember when Earl and Mark were living here. That seems like a long time ago. Do you want to go out anywhere? I could take you.
No, I'm fine. I don't want to leave my baby.
Of course you wouldn't. I just thought I'd put the offer out there.
They gave me a quilt.
Who did?
Everyone here. They were making it for Hope for her wedding, but then everyone wanted to give it to me.
That's pretty special.
I was so touched. No one's done anything like that for me.
He reached down and picked up his bouquet of creamy white roses. It's not a quilt, but I saw these flowers and they reminded me of you.
Oh, they're beautiful.
I know, just like you. She couldn't help but laugh.
You shouldn't say things like that.
Why not, if it's true?
You'll embarrass me.
I'm not trying to do that. I just want to let you know that I'm here. I'm thinking about you. And I care about you.
She looked down at the roses she was holding. I do know that, and I do appreciate you.
She looked over at him, and their eyes locked together for just a moment. Meanwhile, Wilma was inside listening at the window. Before he got there, she'd moved the porch chair so they'd be directly outside the window, and she'd left the window open so she could hear better. She was using one of Cherish's tricks. Her youngest daughter always listened in on others, but Wilma told herself she was doing it for Debbie's good, whereas Cherish did it to cause trouble and to meddle. Debbie's baby needed a proper family with a father and a mother. Peter would be just as good as any other man, and he'd even brought Debbie flowers. In Wilma's mind, that gave him a huge star next to his name. If Debbie invited him to dinner, that would be another step forward in their relationship. Tonight was Cherish's celebration dinner for her efforts in getting the midwife in the rain on horseback.
While Wilma sat on the floorboards under the window listening, Carmel walked over and tried to lick her face. She tried to shoo him away, but it was hard to shoo a dog with actions rather than words. Instead of going away, he gave her a huge wet lick up the side of her face. She wiped her face on her sleeve and then pushed him away. Then he heard someone outside and pushed his nose out the opened window. Debbie heard something behind her and then looked to see Carmel's nose under the window. She laughed. "It's Carmel." Peter turned around and laughed too. Then he reached over and patted Carmel's nose. Wilma kept down and crawled away, keeping next to the wall so she wouldn't be seen. Chapter 27. Everyone had a good time at Cherish's special dinner. Ada showed up without the promised gingerbread house, but she told her that she would make her one soon. Instead, she'd made a chocolate cake, which Cherish preferred. Cherish still had a hard time believing everyone was making such a fuss over her. She enjoyed it while she could. That night, when everyone had gone home, Cherish asked her mother an important question. "Mom, tomorrow morning, can you keep Ada out of the kitchen if she comes over? I'm making a special cake for Ada because she's making me that cake she promised me." "You're making her a cake because she's making you a gingerbread house later on?" Cherish winced when her mother said those words. "That's right." Mom shrugged her shoulders. "Good for Ada. Cakes for everyone, it seems." "Don't forget, you told me you'd allow Fenella and I to make a cake one night, and she's going home tomorrow. So it's either tonight or tomorrow. I already said you could do it in the morning. Definitely not tonight." "Thank you, Mom. The car's going to be here at 12, so after breakfast, Fenella and I will need the kitchen." "Okay, I'll give you the kitchen, but how long does it take to bake a cake? It won't take all morning." Cherish grinned. "It won't take long the way we'll make it." "Well, don't burn it. If you try to make a cake fast, you'll probably make the oven too hot, and then you'll burn it." "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." I've heard that 1 or 2 times before." On Thursday morning, Fenella and Cherish managed to have the kitchen to themselves to make their special creation. They giggled and had fun the entire time. It was a perfect ending to Fenella's stay. They were both sad when the car and driver arrived to take Fenella home. Everyone stopped work in the orchard and gathered around Fenella to say goodbye. Everyone, that was, except Ada and Samuel. Matthew had driven himself over early that morning to help in the orchard. Mom said, "I don't know where Ada and Samuel are. They said they'd be here to say goodbye." "They said they'd be here before she left," Matthew told Wilma. Wilma looked out toward the road. "We can't hold the driver up." "Say goodbye to them for me, would you, Mrs. Bruner?" Fenella asked. "I sure will." The driver put Fenella's suitcase in the trunk and then waited in the front seat while Fenella finished saying her goodbyes. Cherish felt wretched. It was so much fun having someone there. She felt close to Fenella like she'd once felt close to Favor. Now Crystal was back, taking up all Favor's time and attention. After the farewells were said, Cherish walked her to the car. "I'm going to miss you so bad." "Me too. I was hoping Ada would have come before now, so I could see her try to cut that cake," Fenella whispered. "It would have been so good to see that." "I know. Now I'll get the blame for it alone." Fenella laughed. "You'll have to write to me and tell me every detail." "I will. Every single thing and leave nothing out." "Are you sure all your jokes aren't going to be too many?" Fenella asked. "No. How many jokes have they played on me? This is payback time." The two girls hugged. "Don't forget to write. Start writing to me tonight as soon as you get home." "I will." Fenella opened the car door and got in. Cherish stepped back and the car's engine started. The car turned around and headed down the driveway. Everyone waved until the car was out of sight, and then they went about their business. The only person standing there beside Cherish was Matthew. Amish Family
How are you
Quilt.
feeling, Cherish?
Amish Bonnet Sisters
For the
Book
first
22
time since his arrival,
by Samantha Price.
Cherish was glad
Narrated
Matthew was
by
there.
Andy Garcia
Why
Roos.
didn't anyone else know she'd be
Copyright
upset right now?
2021 by
They all
Samantha
just
Price.
walked away.
Production copyright
I'll be so lonely.
2021
There's
by
nothing to
Samantha
do.
Price.
There'll be no excitement anymore without Fenella. I feel so glum.
Glum?
Matthew laughed.
Haven't heard that term for a while, if ever.
That's because you're only around people who are happy and have friends. Now I'll be so bored with nothing to do. The chores won't be fun anymore. It's no fun doing them by yourself. It's nice to have someone to share things with.
I can be your friend, at least until I go back home.
See? You're leaving too. Everyone leaves. No, everyone leaves me.
Don't be so sad.
He turned to his side and patted himself on his shoulder.
Want a shoulder to cry on? I have one. She made a face.
No.
He laughed.
What you need is something to keep your mind busy. That's why I came here. I like to keep active, and I'm learning stuff at the same time. I'm like a sponge, absorbing the knowledge. You should try it. You do need something to keep your mind busy.
Like what?
He rubbed his chin.
We still haven't found out why Debbie and Bliss don't get along,
Matthew whispered to her.
Or have you?
No, I haven't. Cherish stood taller. She immediately felt better.
That's right. How are we going to find out? I've asked them, but they both clam up.
There must be something that you could do or say to make them open up.
Cherish tapped her chin.
You're right. Let me think about it for a while.
Yeah, I'll think about it too.
Cherish felt a little better that Matthew offered to be her friend. He'd never replace Fenella, but it was nice of him to try. Then she remembered that she never found out if Fenella liked Matthew. That could be one of the subjects for her first letter. She'd write it tonight.
Oh well, I better get back to work. Don't want to be yelled at.
He started walking off and then turned around to face her.
Coming?
She shook her head.
Not today. I'm too sad to work.
Suit yourself.
When Matthew walked back to the apple trees, Cherish headed into the house, looking for someone who'd show her some sympathy. Mom had been the one to show Cherish some sympathy after she'd shed a few tears. She'd given her the rest of the day off from chores. All Cherish's sisters, and Crystal and Matthew, were back working in the orchard. Ada arrived at the orchard half an hour later. From the living room, Cherish watched Ada and Samuel getting out of their buggy. Samuel left Ada and wandered over to Levi, who was with the horses. Ada walked to the house. Cherish was feeling better by then, and her joke was ready to go. It was perfect timing that Mom was upstairs. Cherish's first phase of her joke was ready to go. She ran to the kitchen and hid in the adjoining utility room. She heard the front door open and close. Then she heard Ada walking into the kitchen, humming to herself.
Wilma?
She called out.
I'm upstairs with Debbie and the baby. I'll be down in a minute.
Next, Cherish heard Ada rattling around near the stove. Then she heard the tap turn on and the kettle fill with water. Ada was disappointed to miss out on saying goodbye to Fenella. They had arrived late due to Samuel messing about with a house repair. He said she could go by herself, but she was nervous driving a buggy after a friend had a fatal accident when she'd been driving alone. Ada headed to the stove and lifted up the kettle. It was empty. She filled it, lit the stove, and placed the tea kettle on top. Then she arranged the cups and saucers ready for a hot cup of tea. Just as she was about to sit down, she noticed something different. It was quiet, and it wasn't just because the girls were off doing chores. There were no birds chirping or fluttering from perch to perch. Her gaze wandered to the bird cage. It was empty. There should have been 2 birds in it, Timmy and the new bird, Tommy. She hurried over and inspected it. Then she saw the cage door was open. Standing there stunned, her mind raced. The birds had gotten out. Cherish would blame her. Her heart sank into her lace-up boots. Then she checked that all the downstairs doors and windows were closed, and then she started looking around the kitchen in every nook and cranny. Knowing someone might have an upstairs bedroom window open, she raced out of the room.
The birds are missing,
she yelled.
Cherish didn't want to get into too much trouble, and Ada sounded all panicky. She walked out of the utility room and met Ada in the living room, keeping a straight face. "How did they get out?" "I don't know. It wasn't me. I just saw that the cage was open." "What cage?" Cherish asked. "The cage in the kitchen." Cherish felt sorry for Ada being so upset, and she knew she couldn't act well enough to convince Ada she was distraught about the birds. She had to come clean. "Oh, they're in the cage in the mudroom." Ada put her hand over her chest. "I need to sit down." Wilma walked down the stairs. "What's all the fuss?" "Cherish was playing a joke on me." Now Cherish knew she was in trouble. Her joke wasn't funny. It was so not funny it had backfired. She scrambled to get out of it. "Wait, no I wasn't. I was just cleaning out the cage, and I put the birds in the old cage while I did it." Ada looked up at her while she fanned her face with her hand. "Why weren't you cleaning it then when I arrived?" "I was doing a count of items in the utility room, and it slipped my mind." "Oh, this wasn't your trick to get back to me?" Ada gasped for air. Cherish sat down next to her. "Are you okay?" "I will be in a moment. Oh, my heart is racing." She held her chest. Wilma headed to the tea kettle when it whistled. "A cup of tea will make you feel better, Ada." "Danke. I need something to stop my racing heart. I'll come into the kitchen. Help me up, Cherish." Cherish held out her hand and helped her to her feet while remembering the fizzy drink powder she'd swapped for the sugar. When Ada was seated in the kitchen, Cherish sat too and stared at the sugar bowl. "Sugar's not good if you're upset." Mom frowned. "I happen to know that's not true." She poured a cup of tea from the pot. "I'll have 2 spoonfuls of sugar today," Ada croaked. Cherish didn't know what to do. She had to get the real sugar. She moved forward and lifted up the sugar container. "Look at this. It's nearly empty. I'll refill it." Ada grabbed her hand. "Leave it. I need energy, and I need it fast. I feel faint." Meanwhile, Wilma had made the tea, and while it was steeping, she placed 2 cups and saucers on the table. "What about you, Cherish? Are you having a cup with us?" Cherish couldn't speak due to the lump in her throat, so she shook her head. Wilma sat down with them. "It should be ready now." Wilma picked up the teaspoon and placed 2 heaped spoons of sugar in Ada's teacup. Then she poured the tea. When it fizzed, Wilma screamed and the teapot slipped from her hands. Hot tea went everywhere. Ada yelled, and both she and the chair tipped over onto the floor. Cherish ran to help her up. "Are you okay, Ada?" "I think so. What just happened?" Cherish looked at the table. The china teapot was broken. "What's going on?" Wilma asked, looking at the mess. "I'm sorry. I put something in the sugar as a joke." Ada asked, "Why would you do that to me?" "It was supposed to be a joke. I'm sorry. I didn't know that would happen." She looked over at her mother. "Sit down, Cherish," Mom said. As soon as Cherish had helped Ada back onto the chair, she sat next to Mom. "You've broken another teapot." "Me? You were the one holding it." Mom frowned at Cherish, and Ada made a loud huffing sound. Cherish knew she was in big trouble. "At least I'm honest. I didn't need to admit to it." "Why would you do this?" "I'm glad I wasn't using the teapot Debbie gave me. Now I'll have to use Debbie's because you've broken every single teapot I've ever had in this house." "Never mind the china, Wilma. I might have hit my head and been killed because of her foolery." "I'll make Ada another cup of tea with the only teapot I have left while you make your apology." "Forget the tea now. I need food, Wilma. Something that will sustain me. How about you scramble me some eggs?" "Sure, but I will make you another pot of tea." Wilma fired up the stove to boil the water. "Forget the sugar. I'll drink it black and without the sugar. It'll take me a while to get over 2 shocks now." Ada hung her head. Cherish bit her lip when her mother picked up the bowl of eggs. This was getting worse. She hadn't organized that joke yet. There were a dozen eggs, and she'd boiled 2 and marked them.
She hoped Mom picked up the fresh ones. "What you did just now wasn't funny, Cherish," Ada told her. "I hope you realize that." Cherish held her tongue. How was it funny for Debbie to pretend she was having a baby and Cherish would have to deliver it? How was it funny for Debbie to tell her and Fenella that she was never married to John? Well, that was a little funny when she thought back to it. "I'm sorry, Ada. It won't happen again." Wilma tried to crack an egg. "What's going on here?" "What's that?" Ada asked, looking over at Wilma. "These are the toughest eggs I've ever come across. I bought these from the markets. They just won't break." "I know, Wilma. They must come from that new breed of super chickens I read about." Cherish pressed her lips together to stop herself from laughing. "Oh, someone has boiled them," Mom said as she peeled back the shell. "Why would they do that and then leave them in the bowl?" At that moment, both Ada and Wilma looked at Cherish. "Okay, it was me." Ada threw her hands into the air. "Why?" "It's payback. I told you I'd get you back." "I don't see that it's funny. You've wasted a good egg. Who's going to eat it now? Ada wants a scrambled egg." "You're right, Wilma. It's not funny." "You think it's okay for you to do a joke on me, but I can't do one on you?" Wilma threw the boiled egg in the trash. "Just find me 2 normal eggs, would you? Are there any?" Cherish walked over and looked at the eggs in the bowl. "This one with the blue mark on the end is hard-boiled. The rest are fresh. And someone could have had that in a sandwich or a salad. I didn't waste it. You did when you tossed it away." "Thank you. Now you've told me that, you can go to your room. Stay there all day," Wilma snapped. Cherish turned around to walk out. As she was going, she heard Ada say, "I don't feel like eggs now. I think I need something sweet." "I know just the thing. I forgot about it. Cherish and Fenella have made you a cake." "Me? Why?" "Something about you making her a gingerbread house." "But I never did." She was grateful for the thought. "Danke, Wilma. I could do with some cake. Does it have frosting?" "Yeah, it does." Ada sighed. "Now I feel awful for being mean to her." "It's Cherish. You won't feel that way for long. She's bound to do something else." How right Mom was. Cherish moved faster and headed up the stairs to her bedroom and closed the door behind her. She collapsed onto the bed, buried her head in the pillow, and laughed at the thought of Mom and Ada trying to cut that cake. It was a sponge cake, but not the regular kind of sponge cake. Cherish couldn't wait to tell Fenella what had happened. At least the frosting wasn't fake, and it contained real sugar. Ada could eat that. "Cherish!" Mom screamed. Cherish pulled the pillow over her head so they wouldn't hear her laughing. The end.